music. It's
yeah, it's so funky, and I feel like I hear a school bell. Maybe I'm in, but I feel like I hear like a little ding.
Yeah.
Which is I also think is like fun and very apropos for what we are doing here.
Absolutely.
Which is Trade Talks.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to Learn How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara. I'm Sharif. What a morning we've had today. I didn't expect us to sell off like this, down 0.89 on the NQ, but, you know, I'll take it because it's been November to remember so far. You know, we gotta have these little rhymes over here at Adara. I'm just trying to get set up with the chat because now we have our own stream, and so then we have to, you know, we have to do that whole thing. How's the morning been?
The morning has been good. I have been at the big desk.
Okay.
I have my eye on a couple earnings-related things, including American Eagle, which is up right now, which is not flying. It is decidedly staying in the nest. I guess we kind of fell from the tree, fell out of the sky. Now we're trading around here. Definitely VWAP seems to be a point of interest, keeping an eye on it. I know you have quite the trade.
I do. I'm just setting up the chat so that I can see how what people are saying, and we can take questions and stuff like that. I'm just going to do a quick test trade here to update the position board. There we go. Let's get out of that. And there we go. Yes, this Nvidia trade. Let's just talk about this quickly before we get into the whole thing here. We're talking more. We're talking about more chart patterns today. But Nvidia, guys, this is not by accident over here that found that the fact that we found support. Look at the low from yesterday. Takes us around to that 492 area. Now, you could look at the wicks, you could look at the closing prints. I was more interested in the closing prints, and I was interested in that 492 general area. Obviously, if you're going to put your order at 492, you may miss something because it's not an exact science, more of an art, and it came down into 492.22, and that's where we got long. We got long in the 60s somewhere, right? 492.66, yes. And it is absolutely pumping to the high side now, retracing into that 498 area, finding a little bit of resistance at 498. We're not holding too much more, just holding a little bit of a piece here to see if we can run back into that 500. Yeah, but that's the entry over here, and then multiple beak wetters into the top there on NVDA, as the Katina Man and the Neil alluded to at the end of the show there. We are going to have Nvidia earnings. And in case you're new to this game, Nvidia earnings as of late tend to be very, very exciting. You know, both to the high side and the low side, you can have all sorts of volatility. You need only look to the last earnings, guys. We got up into that 519. That was an aftermarket print. I was talking to one of the traders back there, Josh, about that earlier. He was like, nah, man, I mean, I think we're at all-time highs. I'm like, no, brother, we actually hit a little bit higher, albeit in the aftermarket hours, and you know how I feel about after-hour prints. Pre-market and aftermarket, they are of less relevance because they are in less volume. But yeah, it's been a hell of a trade so far here on the on NVDA. Aspect 2K, he likes the fact that I called Neil the Neil.
Yeah, he knows nicknames. Neil and the Neil and the Katina Man. They're like it's like a superhero.
Neil was a little resistant to the name at first.
Oh, I've heard.
The Katina Man, he was happy with his name from like the get-go. There was really no issue there. The Neil, you know, he didn't have it a little bit in the beginning. But
I like that you're still using the name to refer to him.
Right? All right, Adara, let's get down to business here because we have 4 topics. We're going to talk about channels today, right? They're not patterns per se, but they still are chart manifestations, all right?
I love that wording.
Right,
chart manifestations.
So we're going to talk a little bit about them. First and foremost is the flat channel, or we could call this a consolidative channel or an area of consolidation. Essentially, price action that moves horizontally within a certain range, and it's typical of non-trending markets. I held a stock during this very long period of sideways consolidation, and it goes by the name of Walmart. Now, I've said this story before, where the stock father, who is a former guest on the show, very fundamentally sound investor, you know, came on the show November 2021. He said he had 3 picks for inflation. They were Walmart, Costco, and Albertsons. I made money on all 3, and I bought all 3. Shout out to him if he's ever watching. I want him to know that, you know, that was kind of his call. Now, We're going to use Walmart for 2 examples today. We're going to use it for the ascending channel, and you can already see I've already earmarked the ascending channel. But before we did an ascending channel, we had long periods of sideways consolidation. If I could just find it here. Oh, yeah, it's this period over here. It's just a little bit of a wider period. Give me one moment to get set up, and it's this one over here. So we're going to use horizontal trend lines to earmark that area. Now, this is obviously, not a hard and fast area. You're going to have breaks like this one, outliers, and a little bit over here. But for the most part, it holds, and it holds very well. So this Walmart channel is between, say, that 150 to 135. It was a long period of sideways movement here from August 2020 all the way until we had the decided breakdown on this earnings day into May 2022, again, with some outlying periods over here, okay? But let me just pull up my notes. One moment, please. There we go. So a flat channel occurs when trend lines have 0 slope. These trend channels show sideways movement in the market with no upward or downward trend. And it's usually a stock that is range bound for a number of reasons. There are buyers at a certain level, and then there are sellers at a certain level, and they reach equilibrium at those levels. And typically it's a stock where it's an established company like Walmart, for example, like some of these other bigger names like Nordstrom, things that don't really trend too much. It really doesn't really matter what the name is. The point is to look at the channel here. And it is a sideways period of consolidation. What you're looking for here is a decided break. Now there is some bamboozlement. It's not hard and fast science. So if you were to look for, say, a 135 break on Walmart because you were convinced, this 135 level had held multiple times, well, you got a 135 break here, you got a 131 break. So it goes back to the rules that we were talking about yesterday, which are when you break out of the channel or the pattern, how do you confirm that you're breaking out of that? Well, sure, you can get the actual price breakout, but that's not really good enough. So there are different rules. One, you can use the 3% rule, which is a move away from the level by 3%. So it'd have to be 3% below 135. Or you can use the 3 candle rule, whether you're trading on the daily, the hourly, the half an hour, whatever it is, you're looking for 3 candles to close below or above whatever level you're charting. So those are the kind of things you can use to confirm that the trend is breaking. But again, on this chart, for example, if you're looking for a 150 break over here, you got it right back in April of 2022. In fact, it popped up, come to the chart if you're able to, into that 161 1/3 only to tank on earnings. And it looks like this one was actually running up in anticipation of earnings, and the earnings came during the middle of May, and it absolutely tanked from about 150, and it went all the way down into that 117 area. I won't forget that day. I wasn't involved in it at the time, but I remember watching and being like, thank God I got out. So yeah, flat channels, you can call them flat channels, you can call them consolidative channels, you can call them areas of consolidation. They are basically, they lack trend and they lack slope there.
Okay. And so they can kind of go on as long as they kind of stick within the trend lines, right? And that could be however long. Also, I guess, would volume play a role in knowing when the channel might be breaking out?
You know what? I think it would. Just like we were talking about yesterday, when there's an actual breakout of the pattern, whatever it was that we were talking about, you always want to see confirmation with volume. Okay. And then obviously look at this over here.
I was going to say that. I noticed that. I was like, I think that's of note.
And
yeah.
what she's referring to is this candle over here. Look at this red candle where it absolutely huadunked and decidedly broke that 135, coming back into that 117, and that was followed by way, way above average volume.
Yeah, like that, if you look at that honestly looks like one of the top volume candles there, right? So yeah, I guess that definitely would show the end of the trend then. Also, I have a question which I think kind of refers to all of the trends, but I'm kind of curious, I can ask it now. I guess how can you tell when it's time, and maybe this is better if you're doing like a short on a descending or if you're going long into an ascending channel. But I guess how can you tell that A, the trend is kind of working, and then B, how do you know when to enter?
Can you ask that again?
I think I worded it poorly.
Yeah, no, go for it. Ask again.
But yeah, so basically like, how can I guess you tell that a channel is in effect, and then how do you decide where to place your entry?
Perfect. So in order for a trend to occur, there has to be 2 points of connection.
Okay.
That's the minimum, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, how can you tell there's a trend?
That's fair.
So let's go to the chart. We're gonna get to the ascending channel in a second. But in this case, in the flat channel, look at this: 135 touch, 135 touch, 135 touch, 135 touch, and a little bit of a breakdown here, but not by much. When you zoom in, you'll notice that there are more wicks, and that the closing prints are all around that 135. Look at that. Right?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
to the north side, you got kind of the same thing: a touch here, a touch there, a touch over here.
Okay.
So what you're looking for is a level that keeps repeating, and it's not by accident that keeps repeating, right?
It's an important technical level.
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah, and that applies both in the upward, ascending, descending, flat, whatever you want. And with respect to your question as where do you get in, well, it depends. If you're long, you want to get in near the bottom end of the channel, right, and then move to the high side, perhaps sell on the high side. Or if you're short, you want to get in the high side, get on the and get out at the low side.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. So that is with respect to flat channels. You can call them areas of consolidation, consolidative channels. They are not markets that I like to trade in. It doesn't mean they're not tradable. Again, like I just finished explaining to Adara, even in sideways markets, if there is a range like there was here on Walmart during that mid 2020 to late 2022 period, the sideways area here, you theoretically, obviously, could have gotten in long, 135, sold in the 150s, done it again when it came back into 135, sold again. There is an entire art of trend or channel trading. It's not my style. I tend to be a more momentum trader, but that doesn't mean this isn't valid.
Okay.
Now, there are subtleties kind of to these flat channels. What you're looking for, too, is not just the touch of the high side and the north side, but to see whether the mean, the middle area between those bad boys, is presenting itself as a general area as well, right? And we're going to get to that in a second. But keep that thought in the back of your mind, because we're going to come back to it with respect to channel trading. The Katina man is now short Nvidia. He's 497.50. He's taking that bad boy south. He sees resistance. I probably agree with him here at that VWAP area, that 498 VWAP area on NVDA. The Katina man initiating a short on that bad boy. So anybody following along with the Katina man, be made aware there, Adara.
Yeah. I think the whole aspect of the mean in the middle is really interesting, because that's not something that I would have thought about in terms of being an important area. Because I think, at least for myself, when I was first kind of introduced to the whole idea of range trading, and I say that as someone who at least attempts to range scalp semi-frequently, I think I've generally kind of paid more attention to either side, like the high or the low. But I think it's interesting to think about how the mean and the middle area also plays an important role.
Yeah, it'll feature more when we talk about Bollinger Bands on the last topic there, the mean between the top Bollinger Band and the lower Bollinger. I don't think you've been introduced to Bollinger Bands.
I think I did some light reading on them, but I'm definitely excited to learn a lot more.
Fantastic, yeah, I'll be learning too. No, it's been a long time since I've used Bollinger Bands, so it'll be a nice refresher course for myself as well. Yeah. So flat channels. The Walmart one, I think, is an excellent example, and it also features nicely on our ascending channel. Look at this. Okay, so this is as good as it gets.
Walmart providing all the examples here.
I mean, literally, right? Like, since that breakdown, Adara, in May of 2022, it made a little bit of a bottom there, and then you have a series of, you can guess it, higher
lows,
higher low, higher low, and also higher highs all throughout. This is not by accident, right? This really is not by accident. So, technically, an ascending channel is drawn from at minimum 2 positive sloping lines at the resistance and support levels of a price series on the chart. This channel shows a bullish trend. You needn't be a super chart technician or chartered market technician to be able to see that this is a bullish trend. Obviously, we hit all-time highs on WMT just a few days ago before they reported, and then their report was underwhelming, and we huadunked about 20 bucks or so. But we are at the
point of resistance.
We're right at that point of resistance.
I was going to say, it's crazy that we did fall so much, and yet we are still very much dancing in that area. I think this shows, maybe we could break out from here, but right now we're very much clinging onto that resistance area for dear life.
Absolutely.
So you're right, that's a really good example of real-time resistance and support levels. This is really cool.
Yeah, next topic, Ramram. So Ascending channel is quite important. Let me just get to them here because I had some notes on it. Where do we go? Yeah. So what you're looking for, come back to the chart if you're able to. Higher highs and higher lows characterize this price action. Technical and analysts construct an ascending channel by drawing a lower trend line that connects the swinging lows and an upper channel line that joins the swinging highs. That's what you see here. So your key takeaways from this are three things. An ascending channel is used in technical analysis to show an uptrend. It is formed from at least two positive sloping trends drawn above and below a price series depicting resistance and support levels respectively. And then lastly, channels are used commonly in technical analysis to confirm trends and identify breakouts and reversals. So that's what we're looking at right here. So this is the ascending channel on Walmart, and I don't think that there really could be a better example of the, well, there probably is, but this one's a pretty good one too. Yeah. Chris RML, Sean can't be at 440 on Nvidia. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm short 497.50. Where did you get 440? Who said anything about 440? Anyway. But I'm long 440. Let's go. Yeah, he's long 440. No, that would be nice.
That'd be wild.
Yeah. So that is the look there. Anything to add with respect to ascending channels?
No, I think it's also one interesting thing too is I guess trying to decide kind of when they break, right? Because it'll be interesting to kind of see that level on Walmart. I think it's one of those things too. We had some questions as well about time frame, which I can kind of put in there. I saw a couple of questions about time frames in the chat, and I had this question as well. Is it kind of like what we were seeing yesterday with the wedges or triangles, where you can see it on different time frames as long as you're kind of, or it's like, for example, if you see an ascending channel on like a 5-minute, then you have confirmation of other bullishness on the 30-minute.
Right.
Is it, I guess, the same kind of rules of the ascending triangles and descending triangles, or are those still applicable when we're looking at different time frame charts?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, in this case, I think that they would be viewable. Like, well, let's flip to the weekly. Come to the chart, Ram. I was about to say chart there, but I held back there. Maybe I won't be as accurate later. So actually, you can see the flat channel even a little bit better on the weekly. Now, this is the weekly on Walmart. So that's a flat channel over here that we had for about 2 years. And then the ascending channel as visible on the weekly as it was on the daily. Yeah. Now, that may not be the case for actual like chart patterns, not channels, because patterns, you may be able to see them on a different time frame, you may not be. It really depends.
Okay,
right?
That's a good point.
I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, but I think that definitely with respect to channels, they should be quite visible, whether weekly, monthly, daily, probably shorter duration, like when we flip to the monthly.
Oh, they're just like more kind of, smaller versions of the same movement.
Exactly.
Okay, more compressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one hell of an ugly monthly candle over here. Look at that. That is an ugly candle.
Yeah, I was not super impressed by that. I'm sure Walmart investors weren't either. That is a sad monthly candle.
No, not. Poor people, poor souls.
Also, there is a super chat, $4.99 super chat from Tisha Perkins. Thank you very much for the super chat. Shot commentary, please. Let's look at shot. I just spelled shot with a CH, so that's a good time in my life. Safety shot. So this one, I know this one was trending earlier. We weirdly don't have any. I'm not seeing any actual price indicator
You're looking
here.
at Nvidia?
I know, I'm looking at it.
It is a rocket.
Oh
right
my
now,
gosh.
Man.
Yeah, I just had shot pulled up for the super chat, but yeah, it's weird in that I'm not actually seeing any, like, it doesn't look like something that we're able to trade, but I mean on this, like, technically, I'm seeing higher highs, higher lows. We're definitely up on the day, although I unfortunately cannot tell by what percentage based on what's happening here. But you know what? I will pull up the daily as well so we can get a better sense of the price movement on this one. Oh, this one apparently has been halted a little bit. And so the news on this, safety shot set for West Coast launch on December 7th in California. I mean, if you're gonna launch in the West Coast, that's the place to do it. Okay. Also, I can only see one daily candle, so yeah, I apologize. There seems to be some weird.
I think you have a question too in the chat.
Strange karma going on.
From Yash Shah. Want to read it out?
I'm just trying to see it.
I'll read it then.
Oh, thank you.
Because I know where it is. Adara, I have a question related to statistics. Which source do you rely on for pre-market volume and share float, etc.?
Okay, so I use Benzinga. I also, when I'm at the big desk, doing the, what is this, typing motion? When I'm working on the watch list, I use like trade ideas and stuff as well, right? So I kind of, trade ideas is usually what I'll first do is I'll look and see what's moving on trade ideas. And based on what's moving at trade ideas, then I can kind of get a sense of like, oh, what has story, what has volume? That's usually what I use first and foremost. And then I'll also use Benzinga because Benzinga will have some of the market cap information as well. So I kind of use a multitude of sources for statistics and everything like that. But I also, I mean, like in terms of longer term statistics, Statista is a good one. FactSet, like I don't like to limit myself to like one particular source, but Benzinga and Trade Ideas absolutely pre-market.
All right, guys, we got to take care of some business. We are brought to you by Search Trader. Account funding of up to $1 million. Keep up to 90% of the profit. Enjoy relaxed trading rules with an 8% max trailing drawdown on all new accounts. Shout out to the folks there at Search Trader, who, by the way, still have 25% off site-wide for their Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotion from November 20th through to the 27th. Give them a look if you're interested. All right. So we've covered two things, flat channels, ascending channels. I don't have a descending channel, but I bet you probably won't be that hard. Let me just look at one of these solar names. Something tells me I may find a descending channel on one of the solar names.
I think you'll find a way.
Yeah.
Something tells me you'll find a descending channel.
Solar has been absolutely shellacked lately. Let me see if I can find a better. Well, this is not a bad one.
Nvidia earlier today was sort of one, actually. I have one, like if we ignore what it did afterwards. Yeah. This one, because I have the 3-minute on the side chart for Nvidia. This is the 5-minute, and I'm seeing it in both. So we did, obviously, we broke out of it quite massively, as we know with Sharif in the long here. But we did have this, this was kind of that, you know what, I'll actually chart it, and we'll just ignore where we go after that point. Here we go. Oh, let's move that for now. So yeah, as we can see, here would be the bottom trend line. Apologize, it is a little bit sloppy. I think it's in the middle of a candle. And then our top trend line is, okay, so the top trend line, we did have like kind of a break of that trend line here, but for the most part, pretty consistent. I drew this really badly. But yeah, this is like more or less, we're definitely seeing movement within here, right? And then we had this breakout. This is pre-market too. So I guess, you know, as we said, like sometimes, and I've learned this a lot from Sharif as well, like pre-market is not always like the best in terms of levels, but we definitely did have that starter step to the downside pre-market. And then of course, volume definitely strong right at open. We did have that swoop to the upside from that point, kind of broke out of that channel. But yeah, it looks like a bit of a pre-market descending channel on Nvidia. And in that you're seeing basically the opposite of the ascending channel with the, we have lower lows and lower highs. I said it right this time, I'm sorry.
Excellent. All right, is Reliable in the chat, Reliable Rudy? Because I'm about to talk about Enphase, and I don't want to upset him. He's not, so that's okay. So we'll go. Thank you, Laura Rogers, for the $1.99 super chat. Appreciate you, Laura. Dish trading at 1.5 PE. Spectrum and 5G are growing. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about Dish lately. I kind of feel like you might be a bargain hunter looking for that, but you know, I think Dish has been beat up for a reason. I don't know. I have my reservations about this company. I realize that they are the only kind of they're the only go-to for people that live in rural neighborhoods. But I think that, you know, IPTV may be taking this bad boy over. I'm not really look. I don't give too much of an opinion with respect to fundamentals, but we'll have a look at the daily chart, see if we can find any support and resistance quickly before we move on to the next topic here, which is Enphase. And this is probably a really good example of a downward channel too on Dish. Let me put in the ticker real quick here, DISH. And let's zoom out a little bit and see if we can look at the monthly so we can get a better idea.
I like the white box around the ticker. It makes it pop.
Yeah, I put that for everybody because people are really upset.
Yeah, I know. I remember that yesterday.
I don't think that this is accurate. I don't know. Did Dish launch in 2008? I don't know if my price action only goes to 2008 on this chart. I'm not 100% sure. But it looks like as if we are at decade lows. Okay? We haven't been this low either ever or at least since 2008 when my chart starts here, which is January 2008. Yeah, this is a tough look for Dish. I mean, like, where do you look for support? I mean, it's kind of the opposite of a blue sky setup. A blue sky setup means that, you know, there's really no, you're at all-time highs and then there's no price action from where you are currently, and this is kind of the exact opposite of that. I don't know where to chart off here because I don't either have the data or that we are at all-time lows. We've broken through key areas of support. I would have said that 17.5 was a very interesting area of support. Not only was it support in the 2010s, this is the monthly chart, guys, on Dish, but again, it was support during the bad times of COVID. This is March 2020. And over here is April 2020, and these were the lows that we made around 17, 17.5, and it really has not stopped since then. It's been a series of lower highs. Look at that, lower lows. So this one could absolutely be a downward channel, descending channel, whatever you want to call it, which is our next topic right now. Look at that. I mean, that just fits the mold.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Quite well. So without really commenting on the fundamentals of the company, because I'm not qualified to, I can just tell you the technicals, they don't look all that good. So I'd steer clear of this bad boy. Yeah. All right. Now, this is a very apt example of a descending channel, but we're going to use N phase because it looks a little bit better. So let's go to N phase, flip to the daily, and here is the look on N phase. This has been a tough look for them. It's a great company, I'd say. Technologically, they've got a lot going for them, but they're just in the wrong market at the current moment because of higher rates and the increased cost of starting solar. There's clearly been upward resistance at this channel. It hasn't always come down to the lower end of the channel, but it did quite a bit here in earlier this year. It was really touching that lower end. So, like you probably suspect, and probably could have guessed, an ascending channel is drawn from two positive a descending channel is the opposite of ascending channel. These channels are formed from two negative sloping trend lines at the resistance and support level. A descending channel will show a bearish trend. So obviously goes without saying, the three takeaways that you really need to kind of know about this channel are, firstly, it is drawn connecting again to higher and to connecting the lower highs and the lower lows price with parallel trend lines to show a downward trend. Traders who believe a security is likely to remain within its descending channel can initiate trades when the price fluctuates within its channel trend line boundaries. And so what that essentially means is when if you want to go long, you're waiting for it to come down to the bottom end of the channel over here and then initiate a buy position, and quite the opposite when it comes to the higher end of the channel here, you're getting short. Lastly, more potent signal occurs with a breakout, which is when a security price breaches an established trend line boundaries either to the upper or lower side. And that was Adara's question, is when you break through this trend line either higher or lower, do you need it to be supported by volume? And my answer is it doesn't have to be, but it makes it more reliable if it is, because you're seeing a lot of participation in the actual move, Adara.
So I have a question. And I'm going to try to word this because, sorry, I just have the chart back just because I want to reference the chart. But so basically, thank you. So my question is, what we're kind of seeing here, so we did have those like touches on the bottom trend line earlier, right?
Yep.
And then later, we're seeing the continuous top, touching the top trend line.
Yeah, but not touching the bottom.
Yes, so does that mean anything?
You know what, it may not.
Okay.
I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, I was just curious because I noticed that and I was like, hey, might be worth an ask.
The thing is, it's continuing to make lower lows. Come to the chart.
Oh, okay. So as long as it kind of still has the top trend line,
it's still making the lower low. It
okay.
doesn't have to touch it on every descent, and just in the same way that doesn't have to touch the top.
On every ascent.
On every ascent. But I think that as long as you have that defined channel, and then that. You pose a good question, because if your idea here is to get long on the lower end,
yes,
and it's not touching the lower end, you're not getting long. So what I'd say is you're going to have to wait, right? And a lot of the trading, what we do is waiting, waiting for levels to come in.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the descending channel, Ram. So you can come to the next topic there. Any comments, Adara, before I go on about descending channels?
Yes, I did. I believe I had some questions here, so I'm going to look at.
And anybody who has questions in the chat, please tag Adara and I, and make sure to tag us so we see that red rectangle, and we can answer you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't know if I have any questions on descending, right? I think you answered the one that I had. So if I think of anything, I will definitely let you know. But yeah, I think too, it's just interesting to think about the fact that as long as you still have, it's like, what is said here a lot, the trend is your friend until the end when it bends.
Yep.
And so I think as long as you still have that downward movement, it's interesting to know that, we don't have to have necessarily like a touch of the trend line on every move down or up. as long as we have still that continued trend. So I appreciate being able to
As long as you're getting the lower highs, and you're getting the lower lows.
Lower highs, lower lows.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not just moving sideways or it's making higher highs. What you don't want is you don't want to see the actual direction break, and you don't want to see a higher high.
Okay.
I mean, that kind of makes the trade invalid.
So then so I guess then a decisive break of that would be if we had a higher high then.
Oh, that would definitely be a decisive break for me personally, yeah. Okay, going on here.
Appreciate that.
People asking questions. Murtaza, hi Sharif, what time frame market makers or the market use for channels or support and resistance? There's not, okay, so one of the points I made yesterday is all these chart patterns, channels included, are fractal, meaning they can be used on any time frame. You want to use them on the weekly, you want to use them on the monthly, daily, 15, 4 hour, 1 hour. They are relevant and they are applicable to all those time frames. It really doesn't make a difference. What you do want to see though is multi-time frame confirmation, okay? It doesn't really apply as much to channels as it does to actual chart patterns. And we'll probably circle back to that tomorrow when we get actually back into, you know, the chart patterns like heads and shoulders and stuff like that and cup and handle. Today we're doing channels, but these are all applicable. They're fractal, they're applicable in multi-time frames. So I hope that answers your question. How are, Sharif, when you or Sean reload when a stock goes against you, what percentage of shares of the original entry do you make? So I talked a little bit about this last week, okay? And by the way, Nvidia is tanking here. So it is rejecting VWAP. The Katina man is printing on that one. He's $2 in the money. Excellent trade there, Katina man. Anybody following Sean's trade? He's short 497.50.
No bids.
He's got no bids. He's not getting out. He's taking this one to the bottom, baby. 497.50.
That's where I'm sure. Actually, I lied. I had a bid at 4.
He lied. He has a bid at 493. But he is short 497.50.
I like the evil laugh.
Right? All right.
Plotting against the market, plotting against Nvidia.
So this is what I talked about last week, Hal. With respect to DCAing, dollar cost averaging, your dollar cost averaging needs to be planned. So if you get into a position where, okay, so say you're charting, you identify levels, but there's a few levels that you like, right? So there is, let's just say, the $110 level, you like it, but you also like that 109.50. Okay, you're unsure about which one is the, I don't want to call it the real support level, but which support level the actual instrument is going to respect. So you could get in 25% at 110, and then maybe whatever, another 25% at 109.50, and then when it curls back up and breaks above that 110, it looks like it's going to hold, you can add a little bit more. What I'm trying to say is your dollar cost averaging should be planned. And it should be planned so that if all your dollar cost averaging levels are triggered and you're in all the shares that you've planned, your stop loss has to account for your maximum loss, meaning that if you get in at 110 and 109.50 and you're going to stop out, I'm just giving you a random number, 108.50, you have to make sure that all your DCAs equate, if in the worst case scenario, to your max loss. So if you want, say to yourself, I'm going to risk a quarter of a percentage of my account. You have to make sure that if all your dollar cost averaging levels trigger that, and then they stop out, that you're adhering to that 25 or that 0.25% rule. I hope that is clear. It's kind of hard to explain at times. So that is what I have to say about that. Moving up. Let's see if there's any other questions before we move on to Bollinger Bands. Callum, love that name, Mitchell Miller. Hi, Sharif. Do you have any boring, reliable trade ideas for a novice? You are both amazing. Thanks. Thank you, Callum, for saying that. Trade ideas. Yeah, we got trade ideas every day. I mean, that's kind of what we're here. As some come up, I can mention them. If more macro, I'll just give you my opinion. I'm interested in some of these home builders. I'm interested in some of the industries that are going to support home building. And the reason I say that is because there is a decided house shortage both in America and in Canada. The millennials are now going to become the biggest, population group, whatever you want to call them, population cohort. They're having trouble buying homes because of the elevated prices, which is in part due to a lack of supply. So I think you're going to see a concerted effort by governments at all levels to really build homes to house these bad boys. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people benefiting from that. It's obviously going to be the home builders. I personally feel it might be like Caterpillar and Deere. Deere reports after market today. So if you're interested in this trade idea, maybe listen to that call, see what some of the management there has to say. What's going on there, Katina Man? The Katina Man is still short AMC, and he's printing on that. So anybody following the Katina Man's trade, he's still holding that AMC short. Say that again. And he's also short Roblox. By the way, for everybody asking about Sean and Neil's trades, very soon, my friends, there will be a source for you to know all their trades, what price they got in, what time they got in, etc. You're going to have all that data while Adara and I are yapping away for 3 hours. You're going to be able to see everything they're doing very, very soon, Adara.
Yes, really exciting times. Also, so there is a really good question I want to get to, but first, I am in 2 shorts, and someone asked me about one of them in the chat, so I think I should address this. Disney, please just punch, have to say. I really like the setup on this. I waited, I saw this initially over here, and then I wanted to see us break. I wanted to see us really fail 94.90.
That's
like
a great
really
trade, man.
Thank you. I am so happy. So we had this kind of double top, and I saw that, and I was like, hello, goodbye, Disney. Someone asked me where I'm looking to get out, if I was looking to get out at lows of the days. No, I think generally, like I said, I like to have very clear levels just because I am a scalpier. This is, I realize, not a scalp. I've been this longer, but I think because the technical level was so clear, that's why I was like, I'm gonna stay in this a little bit longer, hang out, have a suntan here, wait for Disney to bake. I don't know what that analogy was, but yeah, in terms to answer your question, I'd like to get out around this 94.07 area. If we see any resistance around VWAP, I might get part of the position out there. Because, and this goes back to risk management last week, sizes. I like piecing out of positions just so I can take, my beak wetters, as Sharif calls them. I like to take my profits, and I like to run. But yeah, Disney is running to the downside right now, so I'm pretty happy. I like what's going on here. Also, I will address the Zoom short, which is a lot more short-lived, pun intended, because I just got into it. But again, this is actually, an example of an ascending channel that I'm trying to exploit by trading the ranges. So you have the top channel here. We kind of failed it a little bit. Bottom channel here. Basically, so I'm trying to, how I look at this is I'm like, what would a slightly higher low be? So I want to get out just above that 65 area. That's where I'd like to take out my shares should we get to that area, because that would be a slightly higher low, assuming this is an ascending channel, and that's where I want to get out. Now, what happens when we go back to the upside and I'm out? I might want to trade this range. I might want to be a little bit scalpy with it, because this to me looks like an ascending channel that I would like to hang out in and play the ranges if the stock will have me, if I'm able to. But yeah, so that is an ascending channel example with Zoom. Yeah, and I think too, if I see any ascending or descending channels throughout the day, if anyone sees any as well, seeing what we did yesterday with the triangles, we would love to talk about them and analyze them in real time.
All right, before we go on to Bollinger Bands, BlackBerry has a quick question. It's addressed to both you and I. What if you forgot, What if you have higher highs and lower lows? Then it's none of our previous setups. It's difficult to make any decisions because it's neither up nor down. No, you're absolutely right. And then not every chart is going to have a discernible trend, whether channels or chart patterns. It can absolutely be zigzagging. And my advice to you in those cases is stay away from those stocks. There's so many securities, so many different things to trade. You don't have to take the hardest one and try to make sense out of it. So in those cases, stay away. That would be my advice to you. All right, quickly here, just making sure that there's no other, the one. Dara, Sharif, since the existing home sales report is down, actuals, we got that today. I didn't even look at it. Thank you for reminding me. 3.79 million and previous was 3.95 million. How do you think this will affect the home market? Look, it continues to be a problem that we have lower housing starts. So let me have a look here, because there were several data points today, this morning, existing home sales. There we go. Okay, so existing home sales, 3.79 million. Consensus was 3.9, so it was definitely lower. Existing home sales month over month were down 0.4%. These aren't newer home starts, so I don't think that this really applies much with respect to what I was saying. That's usually the newer home starts, the data point that I'm looking at that. But yeah, it's a tougher real estate market that you guys have there. Even here too. Even here, it's kind of dropping a little bit, but the supply here is just it's not increasing because builders don't want to build in a high rate environment. So yeah, sorry, the one I thought you were asking about something else. All right, the crypto conspiracist? I don't know. Sharif, after a great winning streak, I'm having a continuous losing streak, losing 70% of my account in around 10 days. I'm at the point of walking away with, but do not want to give up. Any advice? Yeah, take a break, and size down. You know, allow yourself to kind of reset. Get away from the market for a couple days, maybe just watch for a week or two, try to see where we're going. I can tell you, you know, despite the fact that we're down today, it's been a very strong November, so it's been a lot easier to trade long on some of these big cap names than it has been to go short. That's first and foremost. Second, when you're going through tough drawdown periods, size down. If you want to continue to get the reps in, you don't want to sit on the sidelines, you want to continue to have some activity, take much smaller size. Go to 1/10 of a tenth of what you were taking normally. You don't have to go full size, right? As long as you're getting those reps, wetting your beak, so to speak, with whatever you're trading, that is something that you can obviously implement to kind of help with the larger drawdowns, especially during periods of big drawdowns. Bring it in.
I threw some corn on the salad because we were joking about that. But it is a salad today.
Guys, keep that Katina man. Guys, do you have any idea how healthy this is from a macro perspective? No, it's very.
I like the beautiful colors too, the greens with like the splash of yellow and red.
Yeah, from a macros perspective, absolutely.
Macronutrients?
Yeah,
macronutrients.
Making fun of me. $3 in the money on NVDA for the Katina man. I'm going to continue to hold mine because I have bottom wick. And, you know, if it ends up moving up, great. If it comes down into my entry point, I only have like 2 more outs. Anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, it would have to go a really long time for it to hit where you are.
Exactly.
That's fair.
Quickly, before we move on to Bollinger Bands, I keep saying that, but you know, people keep asking questions. Henry Chung, when mentioned about the new upcoming features, the picture of Jonah Hill, Wolf of Wall Street, popped up when he said, "You show me a pay stub 4 and I quit my job right now and I work for you." Yeah, I love that. That's one of the nicer little tidbits of that movie.
Yeah, nice is a strong word for that movie, yeah.
That movie's intense, man.
It's entertaining, but it's so much.
It's been 10 years since that came out, eh?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
like Margot Robbie was like in that, and then she became a star from that. Huge, now she's Barbie. That's crazy.
Barbie. Oh my God. All right. Sharif, Ram is upset that I was being sarcastic about Barbie. But hey, man, I'm more of an Oppenheimer guy, but whatever. She's an Oppenheimer girl too, but she also appreciates Barbie, she says. We need to get Ram a mic. Yeah. The Neil says, why do you have to choose between the two? You don't.
Well, there was a Barbenheimer weekend. I feel like they really used that well to kind of get promotions, but you shouldn't have to choose. Also, sorry, there's a question here from Yas Shaw. What does it mean when they say there is a resistance that traded at 50 M volume at a price of $3? Can you explain how to know what is volume traded at certain resistance? I mean, like I can answer part of that, probably not all of that, but I think.
Show me which question it is? Yas Shaw. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So yeah, I think with regards to like you can have like volume up on your chart, right? So I have my volume candles here, and so that kind of tells me like at what volume things are trading at in certain ways. So like if I guess if you're seeing, oh, like this thing is happening at this amount of volume, it's kind of what we were talking about earlier too, right? With regards to the ascending and descending channels, and I was kind of asking, is the breakout more significant if there's more volume? Yeah, so most, like I have these volume candles at the bottom. I know Sharif also has the volume candles. Yep. And so if you see a big spike in volume, mine are pastel colored for some reason, so they're a little bit harder to see. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, I might have to change that. But the point is, you can kind of see we had this big spike right at open, and then we had a little bit lower volume later. But like, let's say there was a big move down in Zoom, and there was a giant volume candle, then you would know this is like, you know, maybe more significant. So I guess to answer your question with regards to volume, it kind of helps like validate the significance of a move. And yeah, you can always just set it up here. It's like just an indicator. On P Pro 8 at least, it's an indicator we can use on the charts.
Okay. AK, quick, one last question before we move on to Bollinger Bands. I keep saying that. AK, Sharif, when you review the different indicators, could you please mention the time frame ranges that they work best in, i.e. 1 minute, 1 hour, etc., and the best ones for day trading? Thanks. There is really no hard and fast rule. That's what I'm trying to make the point, is all this stuff is fractal, meaning that you can use it on whatever time frame. If you're a swing trader like Michael Noss and you want to use it on the daily, channels absolutely work. And if you want to trade it intraday on the 5, on the 1, on the 3, it absolutely works. Is there going to be more, is there more likelihood for bamboozlement, like a fake out breakout or fake out breakdown on a smaller time frame? Yes. But that doesn't mean it makes it less usable. You just have to be cognizant of the fact that, you know, you are trading on a smaller time frame and you are more subject to volatility, more subject to the whims of the market. Whereas if you're trading off the daily and the weekly, these are more tried and true levels, pardon me. So when I talk about something, I don't want you to think it's only applicable on the monthly chart, only applicable on the hourly chart. No, all this stuff is fractal, and that's what I mean by that. Okay, moving on here to Bollinger Bands. Come to the chart, Ram. Bollinger Bands are one of the most popular trading channels incorporating moving average trend lines. In a Bollinger Band trading channel, trend lines are at the resistance and support levels are based on movement of the moving average, and it's a simple moving average usually. The resistance trend line is 2 standard deviations away from the moving average. The support trend line is 2 standard deviations away from the moving average. Now, the moving average I have to highlight here. I don't know why it's hidden. There it is, EMA 20, and then I'm going to make it thicker. 1 second, please. There we go. Make it 4. Okay, so for Bollinger Bands, here we go. So the upper resistance line is the purple, and so is the bottom one. And in the middle is the moving average. And that's what it means by 2 standard deviations away. So this upper trend line will be 2 standard deviations away from this yellow trend line, likewise with the bottom one, okay? And so when you look at this, if you want to trade using Bollinger Bands, we're gonna get into, you know, how to use them a little bit later, but when the theory goes, if you're channel trading, you get short at the high side, you get long on the low side. I mean, it's not that simple. Obviously, there are other confirmatory factors that you should be looking at, but that's, in a nutshell, that's what it is. What's going on over there? Okay, he liked the confirmatory factor, so we're going to hit that. The Katina man eating and printing over there. That's what he's doing.
I just lost on the Amazon short.
You lost on an Amazon short? Okay, so the Katina man tried to go short at Amazon into VWAP there, and he took a small L. So be made aware of that. All right. So this Bollinger Band line, is this what you expected to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, it's funny because I read about them, but I don't think I'd really seen them as much. I think I was like, when I heard bands, I think I was expecting something much more, much less elastic. I think I was expecting something more kind of like structured, but it's cool to kind of see that, like all these other trend lines, they are a little bit more malleable as long as there is kind of, there we go. We're spitting the words of the day over here.
No way, bro.
Yeah, I think I like that it is a bit more kind of malleable and much like what's going on with the ascending and descending channels, as long as you still have that kind of pattern, you can kind of use your own discretion as to where there are breaks or not. And would volume, I'm assuming, also factor into?
I believe so. Now, I had to go refresh my memory on that to see. I think as a general rule, volume is a great confirmation for a break out of the channel and below the channel as well. Like, let's have a look at, and you know, we've been looking at the daily on this. Let's have a look at Nvidia intraday. This is the 5-minute chart on Nvidia today, since we're already involved in it. You had a big breach of the Bollinger Band right here, but look how short-lived it was. And again, look at the closing prints. They're all really at that Bollinger Band level. The closing print is not really north of it. And then you have a move down. And likewise, the same thing. The closing prints all really near that Bollinger Band level. And so you have multiple touches there, and then you have the first green candle to make a new high. And I've talked a little bit about this as, you know, one of the opportunities of how to get in after a big move down. You wait for multiple red candles, then wait for the first green candle to make a new high. In this case, it was this one over here, and then there you go. You get a nice pump up. And then look where we're finding resistance. Lo and behold, it's that middle moving average. finding a lot of resistance in and around that level. You could also say we're finding a resistance at VWAP, but look where the closing prints are. They're all at that yellow trend line, right? That's the moving average. And so that's what Bollinger Bands are based on.
Okay.
So it's this moving average, which I believe is a 20-day exponential moving average, and you can set it up differently. And then the top and the bottom trend lines are 2 standard deviations away from that yellow trend line.
There we go. So that was, I guess, what you're referring to with mean earlier, right? How kind of the middle price action does play a role. I think that is, yeah, that's really interesting. And I want to read up more on Bollinger Bands now, because I think it's one of those things, like when you read it and you see like, oh, you know, based on these 2 standard deviations, I think it was really hard to picture. So kind of being able to picture it now, it's interesting to see how we can kind of look at ranges within this kind of formation, right? And kind of playing the ranges within there. I think that's really interesting. And
yeah, I should. We'll probably add that on my stream deck. Yeah.
But no, sorry, I appreciate being able to see that. Also, I should address the Zoom short, because I had a question about this as well from BlackBerry, and I would like to talk about it. I want to ask, concerning Zoom, I would think that a V formation that like that we see here is a sign for strong interest. So why go short at that point? So what I was trying to do was trade the range, basically, right? Like I said, I like doing scalps, and so the goal was, because we consistently saw this kind of movement downward, this was a descending channel, or ascending channel, sorry. So the goal was to kind of trade within the ranges here. I arguably got out too early. My goal was to kind of break when I saw that kind of double top break. That's when I wanted to get out. It broke, I departed. But then now it looks like if I'd stayed a little bit lower, now we're kind of seeing what could be. I mean, to be fair, that was pre-market, but a bit of a triple top. We could have a retracement here, so I'm going to keep an eye out. But I wanted to leave this short for now. You can always leave trades and get back in. But yeah, to answer your question, I did initially enter the short because I was planning on scalping it. It just didn't, because the pattern was kind of there for that. We just didn't get as low as I would have liked us to get. Also, thank you, Corey, for the 99-cent super chat. I see, little sunglasses faces here. Good times. Yeah, no, I think, Bollinger Bands, super interesting. And I think it's something that I'd like to understand their movement a bit more, because I think it looks a bit different, right? Like, I think with an ascending channel, kind of like what we've seen on Zoom, there's a pretty clear, like, you don't even necessarily need to chart it to kind of see what's happening here. I think same with descending channel, but on the opposite side, you can see, like, as long as you have the lower lows, the lower highs, you do have it. So I guess the charting of a Bollinger Band, I think, seems a little bit more complicated and fun. So I think that's why it's a bit harder to see.
It's definitely not, as just like as
cookie cutter.
A bit more nuanced. So how about we add the Bollinger Bands to your chart?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So you're gonna right click.
Customization.
Exactly. There you go. And then you're gonna go. There you go. So now you're gonna look for top. There you go. Bollinger Bands. Bands that make a dance. Bands that make a dance. There we go.
We're always singing around here. Yeah. Okay, so this is a funky look.
Well, all it's doing, the difference between yours and mine is just highlighting the middle
portion.
Yeah, but the top obviously is defined, the bottom is clearly defined, and so is the middle. See that purple trend line?
Yes.
That's the one. So that's the middle. That's the main. I think it's 20 EMA. I'm not sure how yours is set up, but it's not.
I'll have to take a look at it more. Yeah.
Okay. Quickly, let's get to some questions. Henry Chung, shout out Henry. Sean mentioned about his thoughts on CRM and cited Einstein. I was impressed. I personally attended 3 Dream Force events, and Mark to staff were impressive products. I think Mark Benioff is a damn genius. Quick tidbit about this dude. This dude hired people to protest at his competitor's rally. Like, this guy, he's a, PSYOPs guy, right? I think he's also quite an opportunist. Of course, if there's disgruntled employees who are, working on basically the best large language model out there, let's be frank about it, of course he's going to want to poach them. So I like Mark Benioff. Some people don't. Some people think, he's a bit of a liar and other things, but I'm a big fan of Mark Benioff. That's just my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. Walmart is blasting, says Jameson Barna. I didn't even look at Walmart on the daily today, but Walmart is absolutely pumping today. What is going on here? Morgan Stanley, next level. No, that has nothing to do with it. I'm not seeing a real, what is this? Yeah, here's a look. Walmart to revolutionize sourcing through cutting-edge initiative with next-gen tech innovator Bamboo Rose. I'll have to read this. This is way too long for me to read right now. Okay, thanks for letting me know about Walmart. Keep an eye on that, definitely. Moving down here, see what other questions there are. The one, Adira, Sharif, small rally at the moment. Yeah, I'm still holding. NQ, come back. 15,960, nothing. We're still in kind of a no man's land at the moment, to be quite honest. So not doing anything, hands off. Just leave this Nvidia trade, see if it comes back into that 498. Adam, 20 EMA for Bollinger Bands. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Thank you, Adam. Shout out to Adam.
Thank you.
Henry Chung, if it was mentioned already, please disregard. Bezos selling shares since last week. The article suggests he may sell what may amount to $1 billion of stock. Yeah. So I heard a lot about this. Bezos is moving from Seattle to Florida. And the reason he's doing that is not for state tax. So I'm assuming he's probably liquidating because, number one, he bought a huge mansion down there. Number two, his move wasn't about current tax. It's about the estate tax. He's planning his death, this man. There is no estate tax in Florida, whereas there's a 20% estate tax in Washington state. The government sweeps up 20% of your money just like that for your death. I mean, to me, that's just not acceptable, but I'm not a big fan of taxing anyway.
That's crazy. The way you worded that, too, is just like he's preparing for his death. That's crazy.
He is. That's the truth.
Wild. Did you hear that Tim Cook did an interview with, of all people, Dua Lipa, where he says he's been planning his succession because who knows what curb he's going to trip over. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but he did mention falling over a curb. So that could, it seems like all of the CEOs are like intensely planning right now. That's true, too, yeah.
Yep. The Katina Man says, look at Steve Jobs. Yeah, that's exactly right. Sharif, Bollinger Bands also mark contraction and expansion. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. So many different uses for Bollinger Bands. We'll get into it. But yeah, so we are, let's just finish the topic here on Bollinger Bands. Allow me to load up my notes. There we go. So there we go. So your 5 takeaways from Bollinger Bands are as follows. Come to the chart, Ram, so we can show everybody what it looks like. It's a technical analysis tool used to generate oversold and overbought signals and was developed by John Bollinger. It's not the same thing as an RSI, but it tries to indicate to you when things are extended and when things are depressed. That's number one, oversold and overbought. The 3 lines compose Bollinger Bands, a simple moving average or the middle band and an upper and lower band. The upper and lower bands are typically 2 standard deviations plus or minus from the 20-day moving average and can be modified. You can modify that, the 20-day. You can put it as a simple if you want. When the price continuously touches the upper Bollinger Band, it can indicate an overbought signal. Okay? If the price continually touches the lower band, it can indicate an oversold signal. So you're not, like with every other indicator, you don't want to rely too much on one thing. You're looking for confirmatory, other confirmatory signals, whether price levels, areas of support and resistance, general market trends, etc. I never put too much stock into one thing, but there you go. Those are the 5 takeaways for Bollinger Bands that you need to be cognizant of if you're going to want to use them. Niket McEwen, Sharif, if a stock opens and reaches low and then it moves up but doesn't break the high, then it's going to go low again. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule for that, my friend. It could hang out in the middle. But I see what you're saying. You're talking about a red to green move. And red to green moves were great in, I would call them the pandemic era, like that 2020, 2021, maybe early 2022, not really, where a lot of stocks, what they would do, like especially because everything was usually trending up, those 2 years, 2020 and 2021, they would go red. It would be a red to green move. You get it off a key support level from a previous day. You'd have your setup in and around there, and it would pump up. It's very similar to this trade on Nvidia. Let's go to the trade on Nvidia that I had today. This isn't by accident, the fact that I looked at this level over here. It really wasn't. This is yesterday's support level. So even though it didn't go green, and this answers your question perfectly, I think, Niket, is that the fact that it went red into support level, pumped back up, but it really hasn't come back down again. It's kind of hanging out in no man's land here around 496, but definitely hasn't touched 492, nor has it even come close, right? So I don't think it's a hard and fast rule that if you go red to green, you're going to go red again, unless you break through the highs, which in this case is 505.17. That's the IB high. Oh, Brendo's getting mad up there, eh? Jeez.
It dance.
Yeah. All right. Elon, Adara, Sharif, applying your teaching on ZM this morning and printing. Elon, the more you print, my man, the more we're pleased because we're not here for ourselves. Shout out to you, my man, and I hope you continue to do well. All right. The best Bollinger is bubbly, says Daniil. All right. Okay. Moving down. Sorry, I hope I don't skip over anybody's. Yes, Henry again. Estate tax is worse in Korea. It's based on a scale like tax brackets in the States, 10 to 50%. The middle class, they're easily fall into 40% tier. Yikes. Okay, so there's some, I'm going to digress for a second. There is something in law called a deemed disposition, okay? And essentially what it is, upon your death, there is this fallacy that they create which basically equates to you selling all your property upon death. You're not selling anything in reality. And therefore, because you've sold all your property on death, you now have to realize a capital gain and pay to the government. That's what a deemed disposition is. It's the biggest, you know what, it's just another cash grab. And yeah, that's what, how that's all founded. A deemed disposition, Google it, guys. BlackBerry, should I adjust the Bollinger from the 20 EMA to the shorter time frame for day trading? Very good question. I actually don't know the answer to that, BlackBerry, but that is a very interesting thought. I don't know. I think that might obviously give it a bit more volatility, which isn't, you know, that bad, obviously, for intraday trading. I don't know the answer to that, but that's a great question. Maybe you can do some research, and if you find out, let Adira and I know.
Yeah, we would love. I mean, I'm very much still learning about everything, but especially Bollinger Bands, so I would love to hear that. Also, kind of with regards to that question about knowing necessarily when a stock's going to turn from red to green, I have my own example with Disney, and I think the thing is you can't really predict movement. I would say just kind of look for patterns, then wait for them to kind of show themselves and enter. So I got out of the short a little bit early because, as you can see, there was like a little bit of resistance here around VWAP, and I decided I want to take my profits and run away. But yeah, we had since open, we kind of had like this double top situation. So I saw the double top, which is generally, if you hit a double top, it's sometimes bearish. If you have a double bottom, it can be bullish. So I kept an eye on that. And then I didn't want to get in too early, though, because there is another thing. We talked about this a little bit last week, but with regards to mean reversion. So it's it's like a very understandable thought process that you want to get something at the lowest price. So the second that, you know, you short when it's in your high of day, or you get long when it's in your low of day. So I didn't want to get in too early, but once I saw that confirmation of, you know, we had a couple red candles to the downside, I decided I was going to enter here, and then I wanted to get out at like that 95 level, right? So I had my exit planned ahead of time. And then in terms of where I want to take my profits, initially around that 94.1, while taking a bit of a beak wetter here, shout out to Sharif, at VWAP. So I did, and then when I noticed we were having kind of continued resistance, especially because I'm trying to avoid the wicks here. I want to look at the real body of the candles. We did kind of have a candle to the upside, right? So I decided, you know what, let's get out. We closed to the upside, goodbye, au revoir, got out here. But yeah, so I think to kind of say is like this was definitely one that went lower and then we went back to the upside, right? So I would say before you decide to go long or short, kind of see what it does near these high of day and near these key kind of resistance or support areas before dipping your toe into the water.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions about Bollinger Bands before we, oh wow, it's already 12 o'clock and it took us an hour to actually get through all
in the morning, yeah.
Goodness. Usually we have to like repeat the thing again at the top of the hour, but not in this case. We're excited. Say it again.
I'm bidding $4.95.
The Katina Man is now bidding $4.95. He's moved up his bid from $4.93 into $4.95. We have a $4.95 8 print coming out here. He just took it out. Couple of bucks winner there on Nvidia for the Katina Man. He's looking to, you know, get in on that, you know, pre-earnings volatility. Good look for him. And this is a classic example of trade your own book. I went long Nvidia, printed on that. The Katina Man is taking it short, and he's already a couple of bucks in the money. There you go. On that bad boy. AK, Sharif, could you add a topic to your sessions regarding the correlation between the VIX, the Dixie, the SPY, the Qs and bonds, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, et cetera, and how they pertain to monitoring the market for day trading? We'll get to that. It's not going to be today, but on previous dates, I've mentioned to you the different instruments that I keep my eye on, and I call on my watch list. I call it market. And I'll just refresh it again for you guys. And if you want to pause and go back to add these different instruments in, go feel free. I follow the ES. I follow the NQ. I follow the Dow. I follow the Russell. And so those are the 4 indexes that I follow. And then with respect to bonds. I follow the 10-year, the 2-year, and the 30-year. I also follow the Dixie, the US dollar. I also follow gold, okay? Keep my eye on gold. I know gold's been a little bamboozling lately, but I want to keep my eye on that. So those are the instruments that I follow. Below that, right below that, is big tech. And I have the following under big tech. I have Netflix, Microsoft, Meta, Apple, both Googles, even though I only need one, Amazon, and Tesla. And just below that, under microchips, I have Nvidia. Because how can you not have Nvidia with the Mag 7, obviously? So those are the main instruments that I follow, and they give you a general picture of the market. I also have energy, but on a different watch list, because energy, we don't trade that energy that much on this floor. But that's my look there. Hope that helps. Moving down, James Pang, is Tesla on an ascending channel now? Let's have a look. Let's have a look.
I didn't super see it, but I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting.
Oh,
yeah, sorry, yeah, I can.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, so.
I would say yes.
For my view, like we have a lower high, right? But I think in order for this to truly be an ascending channel, we need a higher high. Because right now it just kind of looks like a lower high, and then we're kind of flat topping, right? So to me, at least, with my eyes, for my view, for my money, or simulation money or what have you, I would like to see a higher high. You know what? It was a really good example of an ascending channel today that unfortunately backfired on me. Not too massively though. We had it planned out. Zoom. So this one has been zooming to the upside. Now we're actually green. Yeah. So we have like pretty solid highs, higher highs, higher lows. So I was considering re-entering a short for this because it was kind of a scalp short. If we did have a break of, because like what breaks the channel? If for an ascending channel, it's if we have if we make a new low, right? So if we have a lower low. So if we had like a lower low here where we kind of went below this area, then that would be a short. So you kind of, in order to, just as important as seeing the channel is like kind of watching to see it break. And then that's how sometimes you can plan your outs or your stops, right? Based on that lack of momentum. But right now I would say the Zoom ascending channel is very intact. Tesla, for me personally, with my eyeballs, what I'm looking at here, we would have to see a break above that 243 because then that would be a higher high. And at that point, I would say the ascending channel is in full effect.
I love this. It's so funny. Bongzilla's going long on Theater Butter Popcorn, and Ram very much agrees.
Is a fan.
Is a fan of that. So, yeah. Man, I haven't been to the theater in a long minute, and I have all these passes from pre-COVID that I haven't used. Yeah, I know. Well, whatever. Calm down, Ram. Look at her going to town with the fail. Yeah, well, I haven't been on one of those in a while, so too bad for me. Let's go on here. BlackBerry, Adara, Tesla looks more like an ascending triangle.
I just saw that, and I was going to address that. I would actually kind of agree here because you have the flat top, right, and then a higher low, higher low. We'll see what we do here. Yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect triangle to me by any means because, like we said too, we usually need more touches of the flat top. Like the more touches you have with good volume, the more kind of confirmation you have, right? So to me, I am, I would say this it's closer to a flat top breakout than it is necessarily to, definitely I would agree, than the ascending channel, thank you. But right now it kind of looks like it could be a flat top breakdown, honestly. But you're right, like I would say you do have the higher low that you need. We did bounce off of VWAP. Yeah, also of note, because we were saying, not all indicators matter to all stocks on any day. Tesla and VWAP, though, that does seem to be of interest. We bounced off VWAP. We just, hit the top here, swoop back to the upside. Let's see what I would say, whatever pattern Tesla does, it's going to be really worth watching what we do at VWAP if we test it again.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, quick check on the NQ. We're moving up a little bit here. It's nothing to write home about, but we're making some higher lows. Kind of basing out at that 15,916, and now we're at that 15,918, still south of 16,000, still south of VWAP. So yeah, nice little pop up there, but I would say, nothing important at all for the moment until we get above those key levels. So just wanted to point that out quickly. Let's circle back now, Adara, to flat channels. Ram, if you could, please. Oh. That was next topic. I don't have previous topic, but I'll add that one. I'll add that one after. So yeah, we're gonna start with flat channels. You want to take this one?
Yeah, let's look at flat channels.
Okay.
Give me a moment here. Yeah, so flat channels are basically, you know, with the ascending channel or descending channel, you have specific directions, right? So you're either going higher or lower. Flat channels are basically happening when the trend lines have a zero slope. So basically you are, whatever high you're making, it's consistent. Whatever low you're making, it's consistent. So the example from earlier was Walmart.
I'm bringing it in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to try to pull that up. But yeah, so Walmart is a really good example. That one also ended up being an ascending channel after too, but it was this kind of consistent push and pull of hitting consistently this higher, not higher high, sorry, flat high and a flat low. And then all of the other action is in between these two trend lines. So flat is basically when that occurs, much like the ascending or descending, when it occurs and we're not actually moving up or down, we're just moving within the range. So I guess when things are like, you know, range or like chop and churn, that's kind of what it's referring to, would be a flat channel.
Yeah, and so the idea here for the flat channel, even though I don't personally do it, the idea here would be to take the long on the lower end of the channel and then take the short on the higher end, and that continues to be the case. You repeat that over and over and over until you have a decided break of the channel. Now, how do you assess that the channel has broken? Because you know you're going to get perfunctory breaks through the top and the bottom. What you're looking for, and you need to adopt a standardized rule. Choose one of these rules, or maybe choose your own. But the rules that I've been made aware of is one called the 3% rule, where you're looking for a breach of the defined channels, either high or low, by 3%. So in case, like in this case of Walmart, let's go to the chart. 135, we talked about this. Let me go to the daily, a little bit easier to see here now with all these Bollinger Bands getting involved over here. Maybe I should hide the Bollinger Bands for this, but this kind of, geez, it doesn't look that good with Bollinger Bands, but in any event, this 150, 152 top and 135 bottom, repeated over and over and over. Let me just move it over. 1 second. There we go. On Walmart, you would get basically short at that 152. You would get long at 135. But what you'd be looking for is a break by 3% above this channel before you say, okay, well, I'm getting long. The channel's been broken. Or you'd look for a 3% break below this 135 channel. Say, okay, well, the short's been had. I'm going to take this one short, maybe even like to that low. The COVID low is at 115. The other rule is you could wait for a 3-candle rule. Now, if you're charting on the daily, it becomes a 3-day rule. If you're charting on the weekly, it becomes a 3-week rule, whatever. Whatever the time frame you're charting on, you're looking for 3 candles closing above that defined level, and then to take it whether long or short, whatever you're going for, in whatever direction. So those are the rules with respect to taking something that breaks out of a channel. 3% or 3-day. There are other rules out there I'm sure that you could employ. It's not, these are not the only two, but they're the ones that I've been made aware of. So keeping my eye on that. Next, ascending channels. Now this is probably the better one to look at Walmart for. And let me just remove Bollinger Bands here for a second because they are getting a little in the way. So we're just
they're being very extra. They're neon. They want to be seen.
Yeah, there you go. Come back.
There you go.
Okay, so this is the ascending channel. And what you're looking for here is it's basically a channel drawn from 2 positive sloping lines at the resistance and support levels of a price series chart. This channel shows a bullish trend. And so what you're looking for is a series of higher lows and a series of higher highs, all within a defined channel. Now, it's not a perfect science. Like, look, for example, over here. If you had gotten long Walmart up here,
oh no,
right?
Yeah,
that would have been a bad look. And that's why I ended up getting out of Walmart, because I felt, you know, it was just, you know, not decisive enough for me. Way too, you know, it was consolidative a little bit. So in this case, you know, the 3-candle rule would have absolutely got you in trouble. You would have been getting long around that 150 area, only to have it move back all the way down into that 136. It's not a perfect system. So, but if you had gotten short at any of these ascents onto the upper trend line, you could have absolutely printed in the exact same way. If you got long on any of these descents into the bottom trend line, you could have absolutely printed. So that's what we're looking for there. And the key takeaways from the ascending channel is an ascending channel is used in technical analysis to show an uptrend in a securities price. It is formed from 2 positive sloping lines drawn above and below the price series depicting resistance and support levels, and channels are used commonly in technical analysis to confirm trends and identify breakouts and reversals. So that's a look there for the ascending channel. Adair.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think too, it's interesting to kind of see, is there, I guess, like, because we're talking about slope, is there like a mathematical way to kind of, be interesting to see if there's a mathematical kind of way to look at necessarily like where you chart these, the hits against the trend line, right? So support or resistance. Because, the notion of slope is very much, math, algebra, plotting things. So it's just interesting to think about how there could be, I have to look more into this because it is interesting to think about how we do have, these touches kind of pointed, I guess, either way. If there's a way to necessarily tell what the slope is and I guess to what extent we're going to hit each point, right? But also you don't necessarily have to hit each point. We did have Walmart, go a little bit higher than the trend line, right? And then kind of fall back down there. So it's definitely interesting there too. Zoom is still, I think, honestly, like the best example on the day of this really nice ascending channel. If anyone else has any other, mentions too of ascending or descending channels or flat channels that they want to talk about, please let us know or let me know. We will pull them up. Yeah, but I think Zoom, we definitely, like I said too, in order for this to break, we would need to kind of see a lower low. Or a higher, a much higher high, right? But so yeah, you just kind of want to watch and see if the movement is more or less within what we're seeing here, right? Within this specific channel. An example, this is more of a flat channel, but I did find this one that I think is kind of interesting. Microsoft looks like we could be breaking out of a flat channel here on the 5 minutes. So this is much shorter term, right, than what the example that we had with with Walmart, sorry. But yeah, we have this flattish bottom here of around 371.60, flat-ish top of that 372.30. And then now that we've kind of seen that break above that, now you might want to wait, like whatever your system is, like the 3% of 3 candles, kind of wait to see if we do have a decisive breakout of this point, right? So I think this is definitely, interesting to look at with regards to channels and kind of seeing them in the wild as we're talking about them here too, right? Because we're in the market. We're going to try to interact with the market where we can here, and obviously, yeah, Microsoft. I'm actually looking at to see if we do have a decisive break of this flat channel because, a couple more candles to the upside. I could be very much intrigued because this was going on for it looks like 2 hours. We were kind of consolidating here on Microsoft. I found a flat channel in the live with Microsoft, so I am discussing that. Also, okay, that just reminded me. I actually have a question with regards to ascending. Probably more flat channels, but ascending and descending as well. So with regards to, I know with descending and descending and ascending wedges, we're talking about the direction of the breakout normally. Would that be the same case usually with ascending or descending wedges? Like, would ascending wedge tend to like break higher or lower? Would descending tend to break higher or lower?
Yeah, it's the bullish trend.
Okay.
Right? So what I'd be looking for, it's not a hard and fast rule. So say you have a bad earnings report or a bad year. So you have a downward channel. Then all of a sudden the market changes, or you fix things, and then you have a breakout north. So that's what would be like a trend change, right?
Okay, so it can really just depend on the market. It's not a science.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just get to some questions here because I was getting some water because it's like a furnace in here today. Nick Dub, can you look at ADSK? I super chatted it earlier. Sorry about that. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And would love your thoughts. I have a bunch of calls on it going into earnings tonight. All right, let's have a look at ADSK. Pull that up, ADSK. So first and foremost, this is the daily on ADSK. You can see it's quite consolidative. So this would be a great flat channel. But what I do see here is just slightly higher lows. But the problem is, you kind of have a little bit of a downward channel as well. I don't want to call this a compression pattern. It's more like
kind of compressed.
A little bit, but I don't know what the slope of this line. It says 5 degrees. What's the slope of this one? 18.5. Okay. Yeah. So interesting from the daily here. Let's just call it a 230 range to the high side, and then for the most part going on to this year, we have a 180. Not even 180, more like 190. More of the prints are around 190. So about $40 range. Let's look at the recent price action. So first of all, right away we're off the highs that we made in September 2021. But unless you're the Mag 7, really most things are off the highs. So that's not completely unusual. What does Autodesk? Okay. So this is, in case anybody's wondering, they are basically engaged in 3D design, engineering, and entertainment technology solutions spanning architecture, engineering, construction, product design. Their PE is quite high. Nick, 54. They're trading high, man. 54.46 versus the industry, which is 31. So a little bit high there for my taste. Now let's have a look at the hourly, see what we've been doing lately. Well, it's been trending quite nicely. November has treated it really well, but November has treated the market really well too. So did we break above highs there? We're at these highs over here.
Oh.
Okay. So, you know, it's kind of tough to say, Nick. I don't know too much about the business, nor am I familiar with the industry that it's trading in. The technicals are quite consolidative. It doesn't show a trend one way or another, but it is holding, you know, a general area. Come to the chart, Raymer, on ADSK. So I gotta tell you, I don't have much to give you on this one, just because it is really consolidative and very sideways. We'll have to wait and see if it can break out of this channel. What did it do on the last earnings? Let's go to the daily here. Usually you can tell the earnings by their volume candle. And like with this one, you can't even really tell because it's just so zigzaggy. Yeah, Nick, this is one hell of a one to chart here.
Yeah, it's we're
really
talking
hard.
not everything falls into patterns sometimes. This one looks a little bit difficult to challenge.
Yeah, Zion, have you ever noticed that when it breaks a level of support, or breaks a level or support and then drops back down, does it trap buyers? Yeah. Absolutely. Traders would jump in assuming that it would go to the next level. Yeah, and that's what we call a bear trap or a bull trap. And that's essentially, we haven't gotten to that yet, but when you have a decided break of the level and then you have people punching in, you know, some people call that a specialist breakout because what they do is they fool you into that because they have so much money at their disposal. They're able to break through the level, get people to think that, you know, there's a trend change and that people are piling into this one, only to wait till it goes up and then hit the short and bring everybody back down. So there are bear traps, there are bull traps, whatever you want to call them, specialist traps or specialist breakouts, excuse me. So there is that as well. Moving down here, just see. $3 club, geez, Elon, my man is printing over there. Shout out to Elon. The Neil wants me to look at BTC. He's yelling about that. Yeah, that's what people were saying in the chat. That CZ is gonna he's gonna get ousted, or that's what they're saying. So here's the look on BTC. Nice movement at around 10:15, 10:30, kind of a V-shaped recovery, and now we're knocking on the door of yesterday's close. Yesterday we closed around 37, almost 37.6. We're at that 37.5 right now on BTC. So if you're trading any of the BTC related equities, be made aware of this move up on out. In case you're wondering who the hell CZ is, he is the CEO, he's the owner of Binance. Binance is kind of one of those ones where, you know, you've heard good stuff about them, but you've also heard not so good things about them. And they're kind of, you know, I don't want to say they're linked with the FTX scandal, but there was definitely a degree of overlap because CZ was an investor in FTX. And part of the reason this whole thing unfolded is allegedly Sam Bankman-Fried was trying to get FTX out. I mean, trying to get CZ out of FTX. He had a 20% stake, and he had, I think, paid $2 billion for it, and the current price was like 15. So he had to over-lever himself, according to my understanding, to get him out. And the reason he wanted him out is because FTX was going to all these jurisdictions trying to get licensed. And then they were asking him, okay, well, who are your owners? And he would disclose the fact that CZ was part owner. And then so they would want CZ to do all these disclosures to get the license for that new jurisdiction. And CZ would be like, no, he would not comply. So that happened once, twice, it'll be thrice. And so he looked to buy him out there, and then the rest is history. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Nick Dub, I like the flag and company. I like the flag and the company, and sets up very similar to Costco.
I'm guessing that's the Autodesk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ADSK. Okay, sounds good. Moving down. Rhodesy, ADSK has earnings. Yeah, I know. That's why he was asking about it. Henry Chung, I noticed you may be using IBKR. I have my tax method set as LIFO, L-I-F-O, but can't seem to set my market value fields. Realize P&L to show LIFO. Can you help? I can, but I can't do it on the show because, you know, right now We're doing something else. No, Brendo. Nick Dub.
What?
Brendo messaged me something, so I was telling him no. Yes, I know that I have earnings tonight. Thanks, Nick Dub. Brendo's awesome. Stockloom, Sharif, Adira, whatever news channels suggest, the market always goes around the other way, and it happens 95% of the time. So statistically, it works inversely proportional. I don't know where you got your data from. I don't know. I don't know if I can support that, but there is an idea behind what you're saying, which is a buy the rumor, sell the news. So as soon as the news comes out, people sell to, realize on that whole thing. So.
Well, I know that Meta Connect, we both got a little bit swept up in that madness. Me more so. I lost like $3 fake worth of shares in that very early in my trading career, and I think it taught me a lesson, which is, don't believe the hype. To be quoting there, do not believe the hype. Wait until you see what happens. And I think especially that's kind of like the whole trick, I guess, the whole essence of buying the rumor, selling the news in a nutshell, right? We buy because of the hype, and then when it comes through, it kind of gets all sold off, right? And that's not always necessarily the case. Like Google had its event about a week after MetaConnect, and then it was super successful. The stock, was super successful after that event. That was when they were kind of released all of the wearables and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's obviously not a rule. Nothing is a hard and fast rule in the world of stockland, in the markets. But I think you're right. Like, it's good to keep certain elements in mind to see if they come true. And that's also the case with, to bring it back to what we're talking about, channels. So I actually did get involved in this this dip buy in Zoom. I'm basically planning on taking this to around this 66.50 area because I don't know if it wants to go any higher, but I'll at least take profits where I can reasonably believe they will exist. Why did I get in here? So we did have the ascending channel. I was going to wait to see a short if we broke down basically at this 66 area. We didn't because, I like to see, maybe I should have waited to see if we decisively broke this lower low. But I was like, if I can take a couple cents out of it, I will. We seem to have a little bit of weakness. If we break 66, I am outie. I am, driving away. But I like the idea of the ascending channel. But that being said, just because a pattern seems to be there doesn't mean it can't break at any moment, right? We don't have any volume suggesting it's going to break. I'm keeping an eye on all of the indicators, everything that is occurring. But yeah, I like this as like a teeny tiny baby long for now. Also, Freddie the Friendly Guy, I love that name in the chat. Thank you for sharing your you and I have been tagged here. Thank you for sharing your expertise and helping me on this transformative journey. I do not have any expertise. I am very new. I'm learning along with everybody here.
Helping.
But I really appreciate that channel, and we're happy that you are on this transformative journey with us here.
Absolutely. Couldn't thank you more. There's no reason for us to be here if you guys aren't here. So that just goes without saying. BlackBerry. Before we move on to, we already got to ascending, right?
I talked through ascending, I believe.
Okay, so we're going to hit next. Ooh, it works. Oh, no. Ram, are you hitting it at the same time? She is. Ram, bring it back.
She's so proud of herself.
Yeah, she's so proud of herself. I love it. BlackBerry. Is it true that Gary Gensler wants to be treasurer, and that's because Bitcoin spot ETF is not for sure? I don't know. I got to tell you the truth. Right now we have Janet Yellen. Gary Gensler being a treasurer presupposes Biden winning or a Democrat winning another administration in the next election. So we'll have to see how that works out before we guess whether Gary Gensler will be Secretary of Treasury. Right now, he's the SEC chair, and I have nothing to say about that, BlackBerry. Sorry. Freddie, the Friendly Guy, you already got to that. Thanks, Adira. Moving down. Or Oprah's boyfriend? What's his name again? Oprah's boyfriend? Stedman. That's it. Yeah. In the chat, is Sean still interested in the Palantir level? The Katina man has departed from his desk. When he returns, I will ask him Oprah's boyfriend. Thank you for that question. Stockloom, thanking you and I for the questions there. I know that crypto people, they don't like Gary Gensler, but just keep it clean in the chat, guys. I have my view on Gary G as well. I'm not a fan of his, but we're going to keep it clean.
Gary G?
Yeah, Gary G. Gary Gensler.
Double G?
Sad, take it easy there, bro. All right. Quick question here from Tushar. Sharif, your view on SMCI. I like it. Okay. Now, it's down on the day, obviously, SMCI today down 3.5%. SMCI did a little digging into this. This company not only provides chip manufacturers with like parts and pieces for semiconductors, but they're like a wholesale, you know, they're like an everything company. So if you want to build out a data center, they're going to come build it out for you. They're going to have the tech support. They're going to have the software. They're going to have everything for that particular segment of the market. And that obviously helps in an era when we're doing the building out of the infrastructure to support our AI. It's going to be good for, I think, the next few years. And it's not just for the actual buying of the components, because you could say, well, Sharif, we're going to build up the infrastructure for the next couple of years and then we'll have it. Well, that's accurate to a point. And then the other point, did I get out of my Nvidia trade? What the hell, bro?
What?
How did I get out of the Nvidia trade? What the hell is going on? Who hit the key? How could she slap? I don't know why the hell I got out of that Nvidia trade. I didn't mean to get out of it there. That is really frustrating. Anyway, I think that this is going to be it's going to be a good company, not just because they're involved in AI, but one, you're going to have to upgrade your GPUs constantly because you're going to have to keep keeping up with the next level of AI. But number two, they're going to have that services side to it, right? So there's the hardware side that we know Nvidia is involved in, but the services side is where you actually make a lot of your margins, right? It's not an actual hard good. And so the margins are a lot higher on services. I would say it's a great company, but choose your timing. Look at Nvidia fly when I get out, bro. Something went awry.
The stock didn't want you there. That's so weird. I was going to say, I don't know how you could have gotten wicked out of that.
I did not punch out there.
Crazy.
I must have hit the flattened key by accident, but that's fine. Yeah, I think SMCI is a good company. Just, I want to make that point. All right, moving on. Henry Chung, not sure what's the best way to send me the info. When you have a chance later, yeah, I can tag you later, Henry. I see you in the chat every day. Magic Mike, is it a coincidence that you both discussed channel patterns today and the market is making an upward channel? Yeah, it could be. Moving up here, Amazon Dunn says FTTB, okay. And that is the end of the questions. Okay, yeah. The market's pulled the trigger, Sharif, says Elon. Yeah, that's very frustrating for me. I mean, I did not mean to get out of that, but I don't know how the hell that happened. Whatever. Okay, next topic. Let's go to the descending channel. Quickly, let's bring in the topics, the topic over here, and then we'll go to N phase, because N phase is one hell of a descending. You can come to the chart, Ram. You're going to wait? Okay. She's going to wait to go to the chart, she says. She's getting an attitude today.
The N phase, like this is a beautiful...
She's the one that punched me out of my position. I know it.
At the same time, you guys were like battling over the buttons. She was like, wahaha.
Right, okay, so this is a descending channel here, as you can see on N phase. But Adara asked a really good question earlier. She's like, well, how come over here it's not touching the bottom end of the trend line? Well, you could ask the equally relevant question of up here, how come it wasn't touching the higher end of the trend line, the upper trend line over here? It's not going to touch it on every time, but if you're looking to trend trade and you're looking to get short, you're going to have to wait till those key levels come in. Otherwise, you're just taking a shot in the dark. I would wait until the defined levels are touched before getting in. But your key takeaways from a descending triangle are as follows. Descending channel are as follows. A descending channel is drawn by connecting the lower highs and the lower lows of a security's price with parallel trend lines to show a downward trend. Traders who believe a security is likely to remain within a descending channel can initiate trades when the price fluctuates within the channel trend line boundaries. A more potent signal occurs with a breakout, which is when a security's price is breached. A security's price breaches an established channel's boundaries either to the upper or lower side. So if you're not looking to actually trend trade and getting in long on the touch of the lower trend line or short on the touch of the upper, and you actually want a decided break through it, there's a couple of things that I would say you have to look for. One, you look for the rule that we talked about, the 3% rule or the 3-day rule or the 3-candle rule, okay? If you want to know what that is, just rewind and have a listen. You can do that. Or you can look for the 3% rule, which is when you break above the level by 3%. You should also be looking at volume to see whether the breakout or the breakdown is supported by above average volume. You can use number of things there to support your analysis of volume. One, you can use relative volume to see what kind of R vol you had that day on the breakout or breakdown. That's one. Two, you can do a visual inspection of the volume bar chart on the bottom of your chart, on the bottom of your price chart. See, does this day amount to an outlying volume day? That's two. And then you can use something else called the relative strength index, which we'll get to later. I don't want to involve that now, but you can use RSI to help guide your decision. You should not be basing it on one factor, okay? Yeah. There should be multifaceted.
Confluence, if you will.
Yes, you should be using confluence, absolutely. Shout out to the Kenobi.
Yes, always. Also, sorry, I have a question briefly. I don't know if this is actually of relevance, but does the length of the channel matter? So it's like, is it a longer channel? Is it more important when we see a breakout or a breakdown? Yeah. Or is that arbitrary?
No, absolutely. You're bang on. Remember yesterday when we talked about the more touches at, or the day before, sorry, or last week. So when we were talking about support and resistance, and we talked about the more touches at resistance or the more touches at
where
support, the more relevance. Yeah. It makes that level more relevant. I would say the more touches you have on an upward or downward trend line, the more relevant that channel becomes. Because yeah. So absolutely, great question, Adira. Awesome. Zion Lala, it's okay. You made a decent amount of, well, man, it's not really about that. It's just about being an idiot. And I don't know how I hit the flatten key on the Nvidia trade, but so is... I
get it, because it's like you still wanted to be in the trade.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to get out of it, man.
Yeah. Like, it's still a great trade, but it's just like, I guess, a loss of what could have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch it break down now and be like the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, and then you're like, I definitely pressed that key on purpose, and then I faked my being upset. You guys all fell for it. Like.
All right, moving down here. Let's see what everybody's talking about. Freddie, the friendly guy. When you have a moment, please look at Haas. It seems to be in a stage 4 if you follow the pattern on the 6-month breakout. Okay, we'll look at that in a little bit. Right now, we're just going to go on to the next channel, next topic there, which is Bollinger Bands. You want to take this one, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I will attempt to take this one. So basically, it's a technical analysis tool that is used to generate overbought or oversold signals, and it was developed by John Bollinger. Basically, you have You have 3 lines for the Bollinger Band. So simple moving average, which is also the middle band, or an upper and lower band. So I'm going to add one to Tesla, which I am not in. I'm just looking at longingly, you know, as one does. No, I'm joking. I'm kind of waiting to see if we break down lower. You know, we have plans. So I'm going to also, you know, I'm going to use a lighter shadow because I found the shadow to be quite a lot last time. But yeah, here we are. Okay. So basically, we have here this pink line here, because the blue is my view up. The pink line, that is the simple moving average here, at least in this one. The top red one, that is the upper band. The blue at the bottom is the lower band. I need to change the colors because they're like a little bit too close to my view up, but it's fine. So the upper and lower bands are usually about 2 standard deviations, plus or minus the 20-day simple moving average, and they can be modified. So it is one that you can definitely adjust here. And when the price continually touches the upper Bollinger Band, it can indicate an overbought signal. And if that price continually touches the lower band, it can it can indicate an oversold signal. So yeah, so we had Tesla. I mean, we had like a couple touches here of the upper band. We did pull back a little bit, but you know, I'm assuming like not all indicators are perfect, right? I'm just trying to find an example here with Tesla and the Bollinger Band. We're not at all touching the lower Bollinger Band though right now, which would indicate we are not near oversold here. A little bit earlier in the morning, maybe pre-market, but yeah, interesting to look at. That is our Tesla demonstration with Bollinger Bands here.
All right, guys, we are brought to you by Benzinga. Use the link in the description for Benzinga's Black Friday deal, the greatest deal of the year, including 75% off Benzinga Pro. Monthly subscriptions now as low as $49.25. The everything terminal for retail traders. Visit pro.benzinga.com and use the coupon code TTV. TTV to save 75% now. New subscribers only, and conditions do apply. So shout out to the folks there at Benzinga, and I know that Adira uses Benzinga often and daily for her research, for her scanning. She uses it often. We obviously have an account here because, well, They sponsor us.
Yeah,
so
here we are. It'd be weird if we didn't. It'd be really strange if we didn't have one.
Yeah.
I love the bluntness there too.
Right?
Perfect.
Well, yeah.
cups.
Well,
Yeah,
what
there
can
we
I
go.
say? Okay. I'm just going to make a quick look here at Bollinger Bands. Let's get into that one as well. I want to add into what you said. Let's go into Nvidia. Let's see what Nvidia is doing here on the Bollinger Bands. Look at Nvidia go. I'm so frustrated with this. Katina, man, I got out of Nvidia by accident. I hit the flat key like an idiot. There it is.
Where were you long?
492.
Oh, you had that.
I literally had bottom wick. Anyway, whatever.
Congratulations.
No, it's not. It's kind of dumbass of the day. All right. Here is Nvidia on Bollinger Bands. Now, essentially, what we're looking for on Bollinger Bands is prolonged touching at the extremes, okay? So when you have multiple continuous touching at the extremes, it indicates a climate of overbought, okay? Much in the same way, conversely, when you have touching at the lower band over and over and over, not just a quick touch and a bounce, but multiple touches, you're looking at an oversold state. And in between that, you have the middle ground between the top band and the bottom band. That is the 20 EMA, okay? Now, on mine it's EMA. I've seen it on others using the SMA. Personally, on my, it's set up as the EMA. And you can just look at that right here by going like that. And it says here, 20 EMA. And I didn't set that up. It came default like that. And with the Bollinger Bands, it's kind of like a channel, but a little bit different because it can be up, it can be down. It doesn't have to be in a complete, horizontal or diagonal direction, whether up or down with a series of higher highs and higher lows. No, it can be sporadic. So that's why people use it there. So Bollinger Bands, here's what you need to know about Bollinger Bands and the takeaways from that. Bollinger Bands is a technical analysis tool used to generate oversold or overbought signals and was developed by, you guessed it, John Bollinger. Yep. The three lines composed the Bollinger Bands are a simple moving average, mine is an exponential moving average, or the middle band, and then an upper and lower band like you see on the screen. The upper and lower bands are typically 2 standard deviations away from the 20-day moving average and can be modified, okay? When the price continuously touches the upper Bollinger Band, it can indicate an oversold signal. Conversely, if the price continuously touches the lower band, it can indicate an oversold signal. An overbought signal is what I should have said previously. So that is the look at Bollinger Bands. Adair, now, do you guys have any questions?
There was actually, sorry, I did see a question from Jameson Barna. Is Bollinger Band only used for day trading? That is not actually a question I know the answer to, but I mean, I know it's like, it says investors. It was developed for investors, so I'm guessing no.
No, absolutely. It is, okay, again, I'll repeat it again. All the stuff that we're telling you about, whether it's Bollinger Bands, channels, chart patterns, support and resistance, all this stuff is fractal. And what fractal means is you can use it on multiple time frames and they're equally as valid. So you can, support and resistance can be used on the intraday chart and it can be used on the daily chart in the exact same way that Bollinger Bands can be used on the intraday chart. It can be used on the daily, the weekly, the monthly, whatever you are charting on, whatever your time frame is. Just make sure that when you're using confirmatory or confirmation signals, you are using it on the same time frame. So if you're looking for a breakout on the monthly, okay, and you're going to use another confirmatory signal, look on the monthly. But you can also chart, if you can have multiple time frame confirmation. But what I'm trying to say is if you're going to base it on one time frame, try to get those confirmation signals on that time frame as well from another source, and then look for multi-time frame confirmation. All right, James Barna, was that?
Yeah, that was the question, yeah.
Okay, great. Mr. Blue says Bollinger Bands can be helpful in a strong trend. The price can stay over and under the bands for a long time before coming back in. Yep, okay. Thanks for that. Pillsbury, sorry about the accidental flatten. You guys are trading, teaching, and hosting a show. Multitasking at its finest. We appreciate everything you guys are doing. We appreciate you, Pillsbury.
That was very sweet.
That is very nice of you to say, my friend. Thank you. We're only here for you guys. We wouldn't be here otherwise, right? We already know this stuff. But we do appreciate you saying kind words like that. Going down here, Sharif, how do we trade a Bollinger Band squeeze? Now, and that's exactly good question, because I don't use Bollinger Bands. I got to tell you personally, nor do I chart Bollinger Bands even when I'm doing my swing trades on the intraday. So I don't have direct experience using these every day. But if you're looking at the textbook definition, you're looking for multiple touches, either at the extreme top or the extreme bottom, and they indicate either overbought or oversold conditions. So let's take an example. Let's see if we can find an example here on Nvidia to kind of help with that. Now see here, this is the funny thing. Look, it's multiple touches to the high side, multiple touches to the high side, right? And then you think that it would sell off. No, but then you get that earnings report and it absolutely skyrockets. So it's a bit of a harder thing to use, and I don't think it's applicable on everyone. We'll have to find a better situation in which to use it. I would say personally though, what you're looking for, Tushar, is repeated touches either at the extremes, looking for a reversal of that pattern. You have something?
Yeah, sorry, I did have a question. So then I guess the tighter maybe this is self-explanatory, but the tighter the price action, basically the more within a range we are, a tight range, the more likely they're going to be closer together.
Can you say it again?
So yeah, sorry, I worded that poorly. So I guess if the price action is tighter, then we have the bands are closer together, and then okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. What I would be looking for are the bands to widen up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so during periods of tighter bands, that's a really good question, Adair. I think during periods of closer, where the upper band and the lower band are closer together, it definitely signals a different environment than when you have these extreme shifts between them. Then you're looking for that oversold or overbought condition. That's what I would say.
Want to see a VWAP?
Go for it.
Oh, the tweet. Okay, I can pull it out.
Chat? Let me pull it up. I got it.
Okay, no worries.
You put it in the midday show or your show?
It's in the midday. There's like a couple tweets here.
I'm in the real chat right now. There it is. Okay, so the Katina. I got it. Yeah. So by the way, this is Sean's Twitter. So follow the Katina man on here. And he just closed his trade. So look at this. Okay. This is the VWAP trade. You say, Katina man. And so there you go, baby. He gets in through the break of VWAP over here, short, cover, cover, moves back down on VWAP, cover. So there you go, breakdown of VWAP. VWAP is the blue. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is where the short was initially, over here. Yeah, so this is a VWAP trade by the Katina man on RBLX, taking that bad boy short for a nice win. Shout out to the Katina man over there. Roblox down 3.7% on the day. Dara.
Look at that. Yeah, I actually do have, there was a comment in the chat. It also kind of connects back to a trade I was in and also our talk of ascending channel. So I'd like to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that one is Zoom. So I saw it in the chat here saying Zoom to 66.30 and I was tagged here. I think it might have hit that earlier. We definitely have pulled back a little bit from that. I got, I'm really proud, a couple cents in this trade. No, I'm joking. I think I got like 5 cents. But basically the reason I got out is because I wanted to basically see a break of this higher high. What I noticed, we were kind of chopping and turning around or just below my point of entry. I got out with what little profit I had and I went running. Now, I would maybe get in if I saw kind of more movement to the upside, but now we had this really strong ascending, I'll chart this actually, this ascending channel, because we're here to talk about indicators and charts, so I will do that. Yeah, I apologize. I probably could have moved this line a little bit. It's not like perfect, but we can kind of see where it was. And then we have the, this is so imprecise. I apologize. But yeah, so basically we have an upper trend line that I didn't draw that well. And we have a lower trend line as well here. We're kind of bouncing in between those kind of areas. So basically what I would have liked to see to confirm that long would have been a higher high, a break of that 66.60. When I realized we were having trouble breaking 66.30, that's where I got out. So now I would argue, I know I was in the short earlier trying to range trade and that's when we kind of picked up. That's why I got out. But like I said earlier, Zoom is a legitimate short for me. And when I say legitimate, I mean like longer term and not my little scalpy stuff I like to do. If we break the 66 decisively, why? Because that would be a lower low. And so that would be an affirmative or confirmatory break, to use a word we keep using today, confirmatory break of that trend line. So here's a in real time example of an ascending channel that might be, a little bit on the fence. We might be breaking there.
All right. Let's take a little bit of a break now from the teaching and talk a little bit more, look at some of the stuff. We'll restart the topics at around 1 o'clock. Meta just broke up here, big. And now it's taken VWAP at 337.5. Meta just got a big green candle here, and now it is far removed, $1.50 here off that VWAP. Big green candle on the 5-minute chart for META as it looks to go green. To go green, it's going to have to break above that 339.90 area. It is at it just broke above 339, and it's pumping up big. META is moving, and I don't know why. Let me have a look to see if anything is coming on Meta here. I don't see anything on my blotter. If you guys see anything on Meta, it could be nothing, guys, but this is a big move up. Look at Meta go, man. What is going on here with Meta?
Oh my gosh.
339.25. This thing is pumping up to the high side, unabated to the quarterback, baby. That nice move up on Meta. No idea why, but we'll keep an eye on this one. What is the market doing? Well, we're getting a VWAP retracement here into, we're getting a retracement into VWAP on the NQ close. VWAP around that 15,987, just a smidge below 16,000 as we really kind of stair step up off the lows. 15,916 3/4 was the low, and we're looking to make that move back up, possibly into 16,000 maybe soon. Not sure. We'll see what we get on the NQ, but nice retracement here on the NQ. You're getting, Meta is the outlying move. You're not seeing that move on anything else. You're getting a nice move up on AMZN as well, but it kind of looks like the NQ, where it's just, steady state increase, but not like this outsized move. Meta's flying here, guys. Meta's making a move. 339.50 incoming. It just blew up through that 338.25. It's now $1.50 removed off that. Brendo, do you have anything on? Is there anything on Meta? What the hell is going on here? No, this is not it. I'm looking. If anybody sees anything on Meta, please tag me. But yeah, nice move up on META. We'll see if this one continues to go green to break through that 340. You want to talk about anything?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about what I'm looking at with Meta in terms of, for the point of curiosity. We have a double top. So if we cannot hold this, maybe my short senses will be tingling. Really poor Spider-Man joke. But yeah, we'll see what I do here. I don't want to always get hesitant getting involved in longs when we're kind of near that high point. So I'm going to wait and see here. But if we do have a decisive break to the downside, if we cannot sustain this very rapid and seemingly unsupported by news related spike, then I may dip my toe into a short, but I'm going to be patient.
Okay, excellent. What else do we have? Yeah, not much moving. Let's look at some of the other small cappers that we were looking at today. I was looking at a bunch here. SGD, multi-day runner. This having another good day, 41% today. Having a look at the hourly chart, you can kind of get the feeling that this one did nothing for a long period of time, sub $1. Then back on November 16th, it really had its best day in a long time, really flying up there off that 50 penny, 47 penny area. By the next morning, it was able to make its way up to 10 bucks. But then you had that big retracement. We did find some support though. Look at that. Very clear level of support at that 250, multiple day support level. And now today, we get a nice big bounce up back into $5. We're south of $5. We're trying to hold that 4, in fact, at the moment for SGD, but below VWAP. So you know how I feel about these small cappers south of VWAP. So we'll stay away from that one at the moment. UPH as well was another one I was looking at. A multiple halter to the upside today, UPH. Small cap gapper. Let me tell you what the float on this is real quick here. Company profile. This one's got 8.4 million share float for UPH. There is a headline for it. Give me a second to pull up. UPH, where is this one? There it is. This one actually was from yesterday. Corporate update issues financial results for the third quarter. So this was an earnings winner yesterday. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 halts to the upside, none actually to the downside, but it is south of VWAP, trying to hold that $1 level. It broke down below it, momentarily, but was able to reclaim $1. It's doing that fight right now at $1. We'll see if this one's able to hold the buck and come above VWAP again. Maybe may allow us to trade this bad boy. We'll keep an eye on that. The Katina Man is now short again on NVDA. Let's have a look at what Nvidia is doing. Another rejection of VWAP. So I was going to get to this, Katina, man. Thank you for reminding me. So this is a multiple rejection point on NVDA, and it's been doing that for a little bit now. So what did we talk about yesterday, Adara?
The more...
Have a look at this one.
Yeah. Oh, pattern-wise? It looks like kind of flat top-ish. Let me...
Yeah, but what about the higher lows?
Oh, yeah, we do have higher lows. So we could actually see a break. This could be a flat top break.
Yeah, what we call an ascending wedge.
Right, an ascending wedge. That would have been a better way of putting it, the ascending triangle. Thank you.
But here's the thing. Remember, let's kind of put a caveat on what I'm saying right now. So yesterday we talked about ascending wedges being more relevant in an uptrend because they're continuation patterns, meaning that they're usually preceded by a move up, and then you have this kind of higher low, but flat top, and then it breaks through the flat top and continues higher. So it's a continuation pattern. It's not a reversal pattern. Now, that is a little bit off-putting here. Come to the chart, Ram, because Ram, come to the chart. Because what we have here is a big move down before we have this ascending wedge. And that is kind of like what we talked about Li Auto. Remember? Li Auto had that great descending wedge at that $38 level, but it was preceded by a big move up rather than a big move down. So what I'm trying to say is when you see these patterns, try to always contextualize them. Are they being preceded by what they're supposed to be preceded by? They're continuation patterns. So if it's going to be a break up, there should have been a large run up before it. Now, if it's going to break down, there should have been a nice rundown before it. Now, it's not a hard and fast rule. Keep that in mind, and then try to assess whether you're going to use that pattern or not based on that. The Katina man has just sent me something in the chat, so let's get to that in a second here. Where is that, Katina man? He tagged me in it. There it is. Let me load up that bad boy. Here is the look on the Katina man's Nvidia short. Look at that. This is what he was talking about, taking it off VWAP. See that blue line?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Short cover, short cover, short cover. Not really range trading, but basically taking off a defined level, which is VWAP. And you can clearly see VWAP today being respected by Nvidia. Ram, come to the chart. Being respected by Nvidia. Look how many times we have that VWAP touch reject, VWAP touch reject. So good look there for Nvidia off that level. But I say a decided break above VWAP, you need to be careful here.
Yeah, I think also for me, for myself, if I were to enter this like as a long, I would like to see, decided break above VWAP, then also last more, because the thing is, if we're going to go long in this, we were talking last week, I kind of realized the extent last week of even if you see a setup, you have to remember, don't necessarily be counter trend unless, like if you're going scalping maybe, but like for something like this, Nvidia is down on the day, right? So I don't want to go long unless I really see that setup come to fruition. Meanwhile, because we are down on the day, where I would be tempted to go short is if we see break of that 495. Why? Because then we would be breaking a lower low, and the ascending triangle needs higher lows. So then we would actively be kind of swooping that, flipping that trend on its head, right? I don't know what that action was, but there we are. So yeah, I think for myself, I would like to kind of see decided trend break. That being said, there do seem to be some interesting range plays up and down 497, 498 that have me a skosh enticed. So I keep an eye on it just because I enjoy scalping the ranges, and I feel like that's the type of the trading that has me feel the most alive. But no, yeah, Nvidia definitely one to look at. Meta's still kind of chopping around that 339, 49, 50 area. So definitely, we do have a higher high here. We broke up from the flat top. So let's see where we go from this point. But yeah, I thought this was just one to look at. Also, there's some earnings plays I want to look at. American Eagle, I looked at earlier, have kind of neglected since, not doing much. We are very much maybe a compression wedge. Mostly it just seems like we're consolidating and having a bad time. Down a whopping 16% on the day. Let's also look at Abercrombie and Fitch. Words are failing me there for a moment. I apologize. Abercrombie and Fitch, kind of interesting. Down on the day. If we do see a decided failure, I like my patterns. If this is like kind of a double top that fails, I could be interested in this short. But this first top we got at pre-market. So I kind of want to ignore that. I want to see what happens and wait and see. But yeah, both earnings plays. American Eagle does have more volume, but worth keeping an eye on. Thought we would take a look at those, and just always kind of trying to, especially as I'm learning too, I find trying to look at things with regards to, like, the channels or the chart patterns, I find to be helpful for assessing strategy.
BlackBerry wants to have a look at SoFi.
Oh, don't mind if I do.
We're going to start the lessons in the
Yeah, I just saw that it's almost 1, so
Yeah.
I think probably. Okay, so SoFi to me actually looks like a really nice example of a descending channel.
Bang.
I will draw it because, and I mean, I apologize, I'm very bad at drawing these, but we're all in this together.
It's like, it's not an exact science.
Yeah, someone was saying that in the chat too, like you just kind of have to sort, you can kind of tell where they're supposed to go. So yeah, I appreciate everyone for bearing with me here. So imagine this line was a little bit farther than how I drew it because I think it's supposed to be. But yeah, basically here is the descending. It's super choppy within this range, like, oh my gosh. But yeah, we have we're dancing within here. Let's go to like a 10-minute. Okay, yes, you can still, like we were saying earlier too, or like Sharif was showing me earlier actually, the channels you can like usually see in multiple time frames because it's still the kind of general price action, right? So swoop, 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 in and out of this, this range kind of bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball, very much to the downside. Thank you for showing this one, BlackBerry. I would concur. Or I would say, you didn't say, but I'm going to say, and I think people may concur, that this is a descending channel. So for this to be kind of a breakout, we would have to have, and we're seeing a couple green candles. This could be interesting to keep an eye out for if we do see that swoop above to break that channel to the upside. But we are down on the day, so that could be a little bit unlikely. Yeah, keep an eye on this one, though. Thank you, BlackBerry, for bringing that one to my attention.
Absolutely. Okay, and RH saying, keep your eye on the MNQ. Quickly, before we go back into topics, let's just look at the NQ here and see what it's doing. We're at VWAP. I don't want to say this is a critical level because I haven't seen too many interactions between the NQ today and VWAP, but I'm definitely keeping my eye on that 16,000, no question about it. We get into 16,000, I'm going to be watching very attentively to see how we trade at that level. Yesterday, we took the NQ long off 16,000 because it kept dipping and closing above 16,000. We got a dip trade on there and it ran for like 80 points. Now we're going to see in the exact maybe opposite fashion that we had yesterday where we get wicks into 16,000 only to get closing prints south of that. So we're going to, when that manifests, we'll see what it does. But keep your eye on the NQ as we're getting awfully close into that. And as we get into VWAP, it looks like we're retracing a little bit here on the NQ trade. So we're not in it at the moment, but definitely keeping my eye. All right, let's start again. Flat channels, baby. Let's go back into that Walmart chart, bring it in over here. We're going to have to take off the Bollinger Bands because they are quite distracting when you're trying to show...
other things.
Yeah, other things, exactly. So we'll take that bad boy off. Bollinger, apply, okay. Here we go. So multiple touches for a while off that, say, 150-ish area, 152 area, and that 135 area. Where is it? There we go. There. This is the area that I'm talking about over here. So essentially from around, late 2020 till the eventual breakdown in mid-2022, in May 2022. Multiple touches at this level. You had breaks of it, though. I would say the breaks are outliers. Look how many touches you have to the north side. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the fifth one it breaks. But it was bamboozling because it ended up dropping a good 50 some odd dollars. And to the south side you have 1 and broke here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this goes back to Adira's question. The more touches you have off the support and resistance line, the more relevant the channel becomes. If you have 1 or 2 touches, you can't have 1. You got to have at least 2. You have 2 touches, makes it less relevant than when you have 5 or 6. So that's something to keep in mind. What you're looking for here are 2 things. One, you can either trend trade this, so wait till it gets into the high end or the low end to go long or short, or you can look for a breakout trade. In this case, if you tried the breakout trade, you were not rewarded because you had a decided break below it over here in March 2021. And you had a decided break above it over here in April of 2022, all of which failed. So in this particular instance, the better trade was to have an actual range trade, which is you get in long here, you get out here, or you get in short here, and then you cover over here. That's the look for it. And then if you're looking for the breakout trade, what you're looking for are a couple of things. One, you want to have a rule as to how far or for how long you break above that level in order to get long or short. Here's what I mean by that. So if you're looking for the break of that 152.5, you would use one of two rules that I personally use. You could use different ones. I use the 3% rule, which is when you have a move and a close above that 152.5, amounting to 3%, or you have a 3 candle rule. I'm charting on the daily, so it would be a 3-day rule above that 152.5. If you had that, then you could, punch long there. Much in the same way it goes for the downside. You'd also be looking at volume. You'd like that actual break to be supported by above average volume. You could use a number of different observations to see if the volume was sufficient. One, you could use relative volume. And Trade Ideas, a great sponsor of ours, and a friend of ours, Michael Moss, has that available on their system. So if you want to use Trade Ideas, they've got RVol. You could also use volume. Come to the chart, Ram. Over here, you could look down here and you can see, okay, well, this is an outlying volume candle. You can make a visual inspection of the volume to see, is this above average volume for this particular stock during this particular time period? So a flat channel, you could also call it a consolidative range, a consolidative channel. You're trying to get in at the high end, short the high end, cover the low end, or get long the low end and get out at the high end. Or you could try to take a breakout trade, which in this case didn't work out that well. That's how I would trade this. That's just my look there.
Yeah.
Jay Lee, quickly, I just wanted to look at. No, I didn't get shaken out of my UNG. I'm going to hold it for another couple of days. It's only 8 pennies below. I really want to try to hold UNG, Jay, just because I really want a really cold winter. And I want everyone to freeze and not gas prices to go through the roof. No, I'm kidding. That's obviously tongue-in-cheek. I'm going to give this a little bit more room just because I'm up nicely on all my other trades. And so I can allow UNG to kind of take a little bit of a hit. I'm not pleased about the fact that it broke $6 on UNG. But, yeah, such is the case. Adam, U.S. 10-year tip sale, high yield. Oh, did we have an auction? I didn't think we had an auction today, Adam. What the hell? Quickly. Oh, we did. We had a 10-year TIPS auction. Thanks for that, Adam. Yields coming in higher. We had a previous 2.094 print. This time around, we got 2.180. Thanks for reminding me about that, Adam. Appreciate you on that. I neglected to take that into consideration. That's so mean, Sharif, says Renata. No, man, come on. People have heating here. What do you think? We live in the subarctic without heating? Come on.
People might think that about Canada, actually.
No. It is cold.
Yeah.
But we're not. We don't have igloos. Toronto's like a monster city. Okay.
I am from a colder place, but we still don't even have igloos. Like, I'm from Winnipeg, which is definitely a colder area of Canada, but we still have houses. So, there you go.
The Katina Man is now short Amazon at 142.40. 143, pardon me, 40. Okay? So the Katina Man is now short. Ram says she lives in an igloo, which probably explains why she takes forever to get to work every day. But shout out to Ram over there.
You're just roasting her over here.
She's like, yo, I'll go to the chart when I want to.
Yeah.
She's like, give me attitude.
She's like, two can play that game.
All right, you want to cover ascending channels?
Yeah, for sure. First, I have a flat channel on Microsoft. I was talking about this earlier. This one is also interesting, kind of in the same way as Microsoft, Walmart, where you did have that pretty defined flat channel. We did break to the upside. I had a brief, mildly ill-fated long because I got impatient. I should have stayed in that. That's not really the point. But yeah, but then we broke to the downside. And so now we kind of are back to this kind of channel. So this is another example of how sometimes the flat channels that will kind of take a while to resolve. Here's a flat channel that I would like to, show off here. Also, though, in terms of ascending channels, the break of Zoom as an ascending channel is a good example for ascending channels. Now, the short, I'm about ready to get out of the short here. We've basically entered my stop area. But basically, I have this up to kind of show the ascending channel and how we had this break. So we did have, though, higher highs. So the ascending channel requires higher highs and also higher lows within a specific range, right? So basically, you're seeing these touches of the trend line. we definitely we were a little bit steeper early in the day, then we kind of got a little bit, still ascending, but a little bit more sideways. And then we had this decided break, and this is where I decided to get in, but I got in probably a little bit too late as we were kind of already swooping down here. But we basically had, we broke below this lower low here. So we did have, I'm just going to have the bottom trend line here so you can kind of see where we broke. Here we are. So basically, we didn't make that higher high. Instead, we made a lower low, and the trend line was decidedly broken. So yeah, basically, in layman's terms, in easy ways here, an ascending channel is when you have the two positive sloping lines at resistance and support levels, and then we're just kind of dancing around these resistance and support levels. It does show bullishness. Now, this is interesting, too, with Zoom as an example, because we were talking earlier about how generally some of these will kind of adhere to whatever the market is doing or whatever the stock is doing, right? So Zoom is down on the day, but we did have for a while, from basically open until we started to break down around 12-ish, 12:15, 12:30. But so it's basically interesting because this kind of shows that, there can be exceptions to this. This was an outlier in that we had an ascending channel when we were down on this stock. Like, the stock was down in the day and we did have a decided ascending channel. So things don't always have to play by the rules. They can break rules. But yeah, very much worth noting. I did try to short here. I was trying to short the ranges because I did kind of notice the ascending channel and the ranginess of it all. But unfortunately, it did not come to fruition. But yeah, this is using Zoom as an example of an ascending channel. I hope that made some sense.
Absolutely. And I'm keeping my eye still on this Nvidia trade, this ascending wedge, which is a pattern that we talked about yesterday. It's continuing to make higher lows, all the while finding that resistance point at that 498, which also happens to be VWAP. So I'm very interested in bamboozling my way back into this trade here. The higher lows are glaring, and so is that 498-ish flat top that it's been dealing with today. Now, today might be a bit of a weird day for Nvidia because we know we have earnings after the bell. But nonetheless, the pattern is valid, and I'm keeping my eye on it for a possible break. Break and take. I like that.
I like that.
We'll see what we get there. Next topic. Let's go here. Next topic. Descending channels. So exactly the opposite of what Adara was talking about. We're going to have a look at Enphase. And we haven't seen Reliable Rudy in the chat for a while. But,
I was going to say, yeah, he loves Enphase.
Let me see if he's in the chat. No, he's not. So Enphase, the exact opposite of an ascending channel. But we're going to talk a little bit about what a descending channel is. What you're looking for here is a line drawn connecting the lower highs and the lower lows of a security's price with parallel trend lines, which is exactly what we see on here. And what we're trying to show, obviously, you guessed it, is the downtrend. The space between the trend lines in the descending channel, which is basically falls under the category, this is kind of, I don't want to call it no man's land, but basically it's the price action. But what you're looking for is a series of lower highs and a series of lower lows. Now, the way to get into this is you could trade it much in the same way as a consolidative channel. You're looking for shorts near the higher end of, when we get near or touch the top trend line, and you're looking for longs when we get at or near, I would say at, the bottom trend line, okay? And that would be a range trade. Typically, you'd cover or sell when you touch the other side of the trend line, or the other side of the range, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so the key takeaways are 3 on this bad boy. A descending channel is drawn, again, by connecting lower highs and lower lows with a parallel trend line to show a downward trend. Traders who believe a security is likely to remain within its descending channel can initiate trades when the price fluctuates within its channel trend line boundaries. A more potent signal occurs, and this is the breakout trade now, a more potent signal occurs with a breakout, which is when a security's price breaches an established channel's boundaries, either to the top or bottom side. Now, the way to look at this is not just for a breach, but what you're looking for, again, the 3% rule or the 3 candle rule, and you're also looking for it to be supported by volume, outlying volume, whether you're using RVol or whether you're using, a visual inspection of the volume bar chart on the bottom of your price action chart. In this case, this is clearly an outlying day. and likewise over here. So if we had breaks of the trend lines using or with this kind of volume, that would be supportive of the theory. So keep that in mind when you're using downward trend lines. And again, like we talked about earlier, these patterns, these aren't really patterns, these channels are fractal, meaning that you can use them on the daily, you can use them on the weekly, the hourly, even intraday on the 1 or the 5 minute. But keep in mind, the lower the time frame you go, the more likely that you are going to have these anomaly breaks through either the top side or the downside. What I'm trying to say is the shorter the time frame, the more you subject yourself to volatility. But if you're looking at a wider time frame, you're less likely to have as much volatility. So that's why some people enjoy swing trading more than day trading. And Michael Moss is kind of like a proponent of that. You know, he bases his looks on the daily, on the 4 hour. So that's the look there, Adair.
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting too how even with that massive volume spike too on that end phase example to the downside, we still really adhered to the trend line. So it's interesting to kind of think about how what a break of the trend is so important, especially if it is, you know, keeping close to and respecting the trend lines for such a long time. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And I also think it's interesting too, like I was saying earlier, how we can even have a situation where in that case with end phase, we did have slightly, the lows got a little bit higher, but because we were still seeing lower highs, it still ended up being part of the framework. So I guess just kind of keeping an eye on all elements here to, you know, to make the beautiful picture that is your trend line, and in this case, the end phase descending wedge. If anyone else sees any descending wedges going on right now in the market, please let us know. We would like to talk to them.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk to them. We're not going to talk about them. We're not going to talk, or sorry, descending channels. We're not going to talk to the descending channels, but we will talk about them if they exist.
Yeah, please tag Adira and I in the chat if you want to talk, if you have any questions about what we've spoken about so far before we get to Bollinger Bands, which is a bit more lengthy of a topic. I see a question here from Blackberry. If you choose that 3% rule for stops, do you verify it in relation to the stock's own volatility? I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, are you trying to base the percentage break on the stock's volatility? For
stops?
I don't exactly know what you mean by that, Blackberry. Let me read it again. If you choose that 3% rule for stops, I didn't actually mean it for stops, but I actually meant it for confirmation that the range was breaking out. So if you were on a descending channel and then you had a break through the top of that downward channel, you have a break through the top of it. What I was saying is you don't really want to jump on board for a long trade unless you can confirm that the channel has been broken decisively. And one of the rules that you could use is a 3% rule, meaning wait for the price action to get away 3 percentage points away from the top end of that downward trend line in a descending channel, for example, before initiating a long. That's just one of the rules. The other rule is the 3-day rule. If you're trading for three candles to close above that trend line before getting long. These aren't hard and fast rules. What they do is try to lessen the likelihood of a fake out breakout or a fake out breakdown. Right? That's what you're trying to do there, Blackberry. Guys, people are saying stream is down. You're on it? Okay. Or should I keep talking? Yeah. Okay. So we're buffering. All right, guys. If you're with us right now, we are getting on it right now. We know that the stream is lagging. The production team is working on it at the moment. Let me know once we are good to go. I can probably check for myself. I have the stream up over here, Adira. We'll have a quick look to see what's good.
Yeah, I can discuss this short I'm in because I'm seeing some mentions of this in the chat as well. I liked this double top breakdown on Netflix, and right now it's working out well. If we break that earlier high of 476.93, I am outie. But for now, we were talking to about like kind of, and this is something that I've really kind of learned through the midday, is paying more attention to the actual bodies of the candles and not the wicks, unless the wicks are kind of telling you something, right? So to me, these continued wicks to the upside candles are kind of telling me that we're having a hard time overcoming this, right? That basically that the sellers are overwhelming the buyers at this juncture. We're still very much dancing around my point of entry. I'm going to hang out here for now, and I'm also more emboldened of this level and even here we kind of got to this level, failed to the downside, then we had a lower low. So I mean, my first plan of exit is going to be this 475.50, 475.60 area, which would be about $1 in the money if we can make it there. And then also I like that because that was where we had that earlier low, right? So not the most recent low, that will probably be my second exit, but where we had that earlier low that we then kind of went up from, right? So keeping an eye on this. I do not know if it will fully come to fruition, but I don't want to exit the trade too early because it looks like we do have a little bit of steam on this Netflix short.
All right, I think we're okay, Dara. I'm
Awesome.
pretty sure we're good. Let me know if, obviously, refresh the stream, guys. I think we're good, but we're good from my side. So I'm streaming it over here. I think we're good. Yeah, everybody says we're good. All right, blurry too. Increase the resolution. So what happens is when the stream cuts out, it goes down to the lower resolution. Just go down there and fix it. Refresh, says Ram. So yeah, I think we're good for now. What was I talking about before we?
You're talking about Bollinger Bands.
Was I? No, I didn't get on Bollinger Bands yet.
Descending wedges.
All right.
Yeah, sir, I do not.
Yeah, that's
remember
fine.
At what point?
No worries. Amazon. No, I have no idea what I was talking about earlier. I was talking about the percentage rule. Yeah,
right. Yes.
that's,
Right.
the
You were answering a
percentage
question about the percentage rule. That's my bad.
Yeah, so again, you're looking for confirmation for the breakout of the trend. When we're talking about descending channels or ascending channels, if you're not going to range trade it and take it short on the high side and long on the low side, if you're going to wait for a breakout or breakdown, what you're trying to do is trying to add another layer of security by using the 3-candle rule, a 3-day rule, or the 3% rule. It's not a hard and fast rule. What you're trying to do is lessening the chances of you being wrong. That's really all we're trying to do here, guys. Sorry about that, and thank you for bearing with us when we take, obviously, DDoS prevention kicks in, says somebody there. Thank you very much for sticking with us, guys. Yeah, I think we're good here. All right. Sharif is messing up the stream, says Tammy. I didn't do anything. I'm just sitting right here. I'm not even yelling today. Remember how much I was yelling yesterday? Hey? I'm not saying that out loud. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Neil. By the way, I was very disappointed in yesterday's game, man. The Eagles are the real deal, man. I hate that. Anyway, I digress. All right, let's talk a little bit about Bollinger Bands. I'm trying to find a good stock for Bollinger Bands here to kind of make my point, and I didn't have an opportunity to. But here's the look on Bollinger Bands, guys. All right, what we're looking for with respect to Bollinger Bands are how long they stay to the high side or the downside, and usually, if you have multiple touches to the high side on the upper band, it is denoting what they call an overbought condition. Conversely, if you have multiple touches and stays during the at the lower band, you're in an oversold condition. It's not hard and fast. You can use it with other indicators like relative strength, like support and resistance to kind of help you gauge. But we'll talk a little bit what Bollinger Bands are. The five key takeaways that you need to know about Bollinger Bands is it's a technical analysis tool to generate oversold and overbought signals and was developed by John Bollinger. 3 lines compose Bollinger Bands: a simple moving average, or the middle band. In this case, it's an exponential, which is yellow on my chart. It's a 20-day exponential. You could put simple if you want, okay? And an upper and lower band. On my chart here, it's denoted by the purple upper and lower lines, okay? The upper and lower bands are typically 2 standard deviations, plus or minus, away from the 20-day moving average. It can be modified, okay? So what we're looking for, what we're seeing here is the Bollinger Band 2 standard deviations away from the middle yellow line, okay? When the price continuously touches the upper Bollinger Band, it can indicate an overbought signal. Conversely, if the price continuously touches the lower band, it can indicate an oversold signal. And that's what you're using it for. I personally don't use Bollinger Bands, but because it was apropos because we were talking about channels, and this is one type of channel. Now, it's a little different than the other channels that we're talking about, because with those channels, we saw either horizontal consolidated ones where we saw an upper and lower line, which straddled the price action, or we saw diagonal lines, up or down, straddling the price action. In this case, it can be zigzaggy, right? And that's what we use for periods of consolidation, right? When moving averages don't work that well. So that's the look there on Bollinger Bands. If you guys have any questions about Bollinger Bands, tag Adira and I in the chat so that we see what the question is and we're able to answer it there.
Yeah.
By the way, quickly before I send it back to you, the NQ just rejected decisively here VWAP. So VWAP showing itself to be an important level, at least for the moment, on the NQ. We get a retracement back into VWAP here, VWAP the white line, and then back down we go below 15,950. We have a low today, by the way, of 15,916. So on our way down, Nvidia hasn't given up the ghost in the way that the Fuge has. Still kind of holding that ascending wedge, ascending triangle. We're looking for a flat top breakout through VWAP, essentially at that 498 on NVDA, seeing if we can get a little action before the report comes out at 420 today, Darren.
Yes. NQ also, I will have to say, it rejecting VWAP has been very fruitful for the Netflix short. We're just kind of letting that run currently. Also, so that's kind of a side note that's irrelevant. I am curious though, I have a question with regards to indicators. Are there certain, because I know like we were talking yesterday about looking for confirmation, like for example, if you see like, I don't know, like a 5-minute ascending wedge, which is a pattern, but still, like, I guess there's certain indicators that are like paired really well together, like certain moving averages or just stuff that I'm still learning as I still, enter the world of indicators.
Well, I think you mentioned one yesterday. Remember the 50 and the 200?
Oh yeah, the moving averages. Yeah, with regards to the golden and the death cross.
Okay. So those two definitely I pair together. Okay, the 50, and I use again. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. The exponential moving average more heavily weights recent price action, whereas a simple moving average, there's no bias to a historical or a more recent. And I would suggest to you personally that I would use simple moving average for longer time frames, right, where it doesn't really matter the recent price action, while I would use exponential moving average for more intraday trading, maybe even shorter term swing trading, because I'd want to be a bit more biased to the recent price action. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that before we move on. With respect to indicators being used together, what I do understand is with consolidative markets that move sideways, that are not trending, whether up or down, you want to stay away from moving averages. They can be very bamboozling, and there's a lot of false signals that come in. Okay. So moving averages are not to be used for consolidative markets. Okay. In that case, what you're using are oscillators. You're using like relative strength, Bollinger Bands. There's other things that you can use as well. We'll get to the oscillators later.
Oscillator.
Yeah, I used to call them, oscillators. Yeah, I know, right? The oscillators are a little better for consolidative markets, whereas moving averages are a lot more effective and better in trending markets. So that would be some food for thought.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Let's take some questions. Tushar. Tushar kept asking you earlier about your opinion about Cathie Wood and her positions. Do you want to opine on that, or you don't have to?
I'm familiar with Cathie Wood. I do not have a huge opinion on her positions. However, I do think the teledoc thing is pretty funny because we were talking about that after earnings, and I know you and I were talking about that before earnings because you were like, "Did you know this?" And I was like, "I had no idea." Teledoc and Cathie Wood is amusing to me.
It is.
Honestly, I would have to read up more to have more of an opinion. Fair. But I think that's a fair opinion to have, that her being in teledoc, to the extent that they're in teledoc with ARC, is pretty funny.
She's got a lot of like, I don't know. It's a wrong word to say outlandish, but they're like these,
She's guts.
More risky positions. Yeah. Yes. She definitely has a view of the future that's more optimistic than I would say a lot of people have. She really thinks that, a lot of the technology that we're talking about is going to manifest a little bit before a lot of analysts, think that it'll happen. Case in point, the robotaxi. She really thinks that that's actually going to come to fruition a lot earlier than what other analysts are predicting. And you know that's her opinion, and you know it's her not her money, but you give her the money, and then you kind of trust her to do the right thing. So if you don't like her perspective of things, don't buy ARK.
That's a good point. That's a good way of putting it.
Zion Lala, Sharif, Neil, can we do a poll on Nvidia up or down on earnings? Thinking about holding my swing account position until after earnings. Eek. Yeah, look, man, Nvidia is an absolute animal. I don't know. I don't think you should base your opinion on what everybody thinks in the chat. You should base it on sound ideas, sound fundamentals, or technicals. So I know what Neil said to you there. He's like, if you do, Lala, if I do, I know the poll would be done in 30 minutes, but can do it afternoon stream. Just remind me. Okay, all right. Remind the Neil on the closing show there. You want to have a look at PayPal for Tushar?
Yeah, for sure. PYPL, not one that I have looked at in a while. So I'm excited to see how PayPal is doing. Whew, okay, PayPal. Honestly, PayPal is kind of an interesting one. We did have, it's not one that I would say is very easily summarized with chart movement, because we were saying, you know, you can't always find, a pattern or a specific kind of movement here, but this is interesting. Yeah, we had like this move down here in the morning. We're definitely at a downside. Then we kind of had like these lower highs. We sort of had a flat bottom. I guess, yeah, I mean, we almost had a flat bottom breakout, but honestly, the bottom was not that flat and the breakdown was not that good. So, I mean, we're just kind of heading to the downside. That's all I really have to say here. This bottom is kind of getting like, you know, lower and lower, but it's kind of very, you know, tight within the range. The volume on the day is great though. 7.13 million, but yeah, like lots of red on this, a little bit of green now, mind you, but yeah, interesting kind of looking at what is going on with PayPal. We do have two candles here. Could we have some support at 55.28? I would have to say, wait for this to materialize. I don't know if that's too exciting of an opinion on PayPal, but honestly, yeah, super rangy, super chop and churn. I would say hold on to your hat before you step into this one. Also, I will update on the Netflix short because it has been swimming. It's swimmingly. Got out here though, and the reason I got out here is because I was noticing a bit of chop and churn here around this 476. I got out at that 475.99 because I was like, let's take an extra penny for the dream. Yeah, here we are out of this trade. A little bit earlier than I would have liked to, but I would have rather maximized my profit than stayed in a bit too long and had this thing swing up to the upside, right? So there we go. I can always get back in if I'm seeing more weakness there. That is the update on the Netflix short. But yeah, if anyone else has any questions regarding channels, chart patterns, we would love to talk about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So in case you guys are wondering, I am long in a very small position in Nvidia here as we are now creating, like we're very close, I think, to getting to the point where we have to break up or break down on Nvidia because the descending wedge is really coming into fruition. I think showing this probably, on the 5-minute, a little bit easier to see here. So let's zoom in a little bit and then draw this trend line just like that. So what I'm looking for is at least a touch to 498. We'll see what this one does. Much, much smaller position than what I took originally. I'm wrong if we break through 495.75. So that's where I'm giving it to 495.75 with much smaller size. All right. Okay. Glenn Smith. Her reasoning is convergence or even confluence of tech enabling multiple instances of rapid advancement. Which I think he's referring to Kathy.
Kathy, that's interesting.
Yeah. Look, man, I mean, Kathy obviously had a fantastic year in 2020 and 2021. Bit of a tougher year in 2022, but you know, not many people aside from bears had a fantastic 2022. You know, it's hard to know when these technologies will really be you know, mainstream. And like what I go back to is the .com bubble, the .com boom. Remember when Nortel Networks, Juniper Networks, and all these, you know, kind of fiber optic kind of companies, like what do you call them, networking companies? What would you call those companies, Katina, man? Like Nortel? Communications companies, thank you. You know, they had a huge boom early on, but there was no fiber ops laid all over the cities and, you know, everywhere to kind of be able to use the technology that they had. So, you know, we saw the technology that they had in 1999 and 2000 really start to take hold in the later part of the 2010s. And that's just because, you know, things take a while. So while I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm not saying she's wrong, I'm just saying it's hard to know really when we're going to really become mainstream with a lot of this stuff. But hey, the sooner the better for me, man. I got to tell you the truth. I love technology. I'd love for these Mag 7 and even others to really start booming. I'm a big fan. Just I'm unsure. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I think Kathy Wood's a hell of a person and obviously much smarter than me. Tushar, her Tesla targets, are they even realistic? Well, I mean, if you believe in the robo-taxi story and the amount of monetization that you're able to make from your car, then I think it fundamentally changes the valuation of the company, right? We'll have to wait and see. Again, one of those things where we're not sure. Like I was FaceTiming my mom like a few days ago. I'm like, she was telling me about, you know, how the lease for their car is up like in a year. They don't know what to get. I'm like, Mom, you need an SUV, right? It's not practical for you guys to have a sedan. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, you know, whatever, this, that, and the other. I'm like, Mom, you know, just get it and get it with like the options for self-drive. She's like, I would never let the car drive. I'm like, Mom, you know, in 10 years, the car's going to be driving around everywhere. She's like, I will never allow a car to drive for me. I can't handle that.
She's got principles. She has principles.
I think she's just scared. She's like,
That's
you know,
fair,
she's
yeah.
kind of come into her way where she's just like, you know, this isn't for me. But what I was trying to explain to her was, did you really think you'd be like a savant on the iPad and the computer? She's so good with that. Like, she knows exactly what to do for all this stuff. She doesn't know that she's capable of it until she gets there, until she sits in the actual chair and does.
So you're saying that if she sits in the self-driving car, she will allow it to drive her?
I'm hoping.
I feel like I feel like you're
maybe
very
not
down.
like if she was the first one, but she hears her friends doing
Yeah, if
it.
like her besties doing it,
exactly.
like, you know.
Her little TV shows that she watches, you know, they talk about it. All of a sudden, it's reaffirming the idea in her mind, right?
So you're trying to like slowly plant the idea in her brain until she gets into it. There we go.
I have no personal benefit
That's
from
fair.
this.
No, I just think it's funny. Yeah, I get what you mean though. I think a lot of, and I'm like that too, where this is gonna sound really weird, but it took me forever to be willing to order things to my house. I don't like ordering online. I'm very old school. So yeah, I think sometimes, I know that sounds really weird, but I think sometimes, you know, you have to kind of take your ease into, you know, the idea of something and then you get more comfortable with it.
Look at this. Look at the Katina man. He's spitting facts. I trust full self-drive more than I trust a random Uber driver.
That's
no
fair.
Disrespect to any Uber drivers out there. I just don't know you.
Yeah.
But I know that the computer is not going to speed, right? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's get back into some questions, guys, with respect to what we were talking about here. By the way, sorry, I misspoke earlier when I said communication. Somebody corrected me there with respect to Nortel. It's a telecom network. Sorry, guys. Thank you for correcting me. I forgot. I don't see where your name is. I would shout you out. I just can't find it at the moment. I do apologize for that. Tushar says, Lucid is far more premium than Tesla, but it's sad where Lucid is. Well, my friend, it's not about who can design the best car, it's who can produce the best car and produce it en masse. And Elon Musk has made that point a lot. Ram's in the chat there. What did she say? But do you trust an Uber driver with full self-drive?
She's asking the hard question.
1,000 IQ over there, bro.
I really enjoyed that question.
I love it.
And she tagged him too. She was like, you're going to see this, Sean.
Yeah.
I love it.
Airplanes already fly themselves. Yes, there's many different airplanes that can land themselves now. And yeah, we're not gonna go down that road.
Technology.
A little bit of a different.
Here's the stat as per Tesla.
What's that, Katina man?
One accident, 5 million miles.
So the Katina man just dropped some facts. As of 2022, there was one accident per 5 million miles of full self-drive. Look at Nvidia go, baby. There we go. So we get in there, already 75 pennies in the money. We're going to wet our beak a little bit through that break, but nice move on Nvidia here. What we're looking for is the flat top break on the 498. We haven't gotten it. It's still been VWAP restrained by, or on NVDA, pardon me. We're looking for that continuation through 498, and we're not looking for a perfunctory break. You guys know we're looking for that decided close through 498 on NVIDIA. Second trade on NVIDIA, much, much, much smaller size than the first one. Just trying to stay active here so people don't get upset that we're not trading.
Yeah, I'm trying to find setups, but I'm not
Glenn
finding
Smith.
anything that's making me happy. Sorry.
No, Glenn Smith, thank you very much for bringing that up. Elliott wave theory. I don't know if it's beyond the scope of the show. I'm going to have to run it by Brendo, but I love Elliott wave theory. It's in John J. Murphy's book, Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets. Look at Nvidia go, bro. Here we go again through the break of 498, or a buck in the money right now. I should probably stop yelling because yesterday I got in trouble for yelling from people in the chat, and the Chilean Nightmare was not happy I was yelling in his ear yesterday. But Nvidia is absolutely pumping up here. But I think we're probably going to encounter a degree of resistance at 498. I expected there would be resistance at 498 because that is where VWAP is, and that's where we've been topping out essentially all morning subsequent to that big move down around 10 a.m. 498 has been a bit of a top, Adira, but Sean never yells, says Nunya Biz. Yeah, he does. You yell sometimes, don't you? He's like, that's right, boy.
Sean, I like the animation of the head.
It's lagging again, guys? I don't, okay. But yes, Elliott wave theory I think is very important. It's actually quite tricky to explain and to understand the first time around. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Glenn Smith. I think it's absolutely appropriate to talk about Elliott wave theory because it's fractal. You can use it on an intraday time frame, or you can use it on a weekly, a daily. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's down again. Uh-oh, sad stream, refresh, guys. I'm sorry about this, guys. Yeah, the yelling ruined the stream. I do apologize. There seems to be, some reverberations over here anytime I yell.
It's echoing.
Yeah, I'm just making sure the stream is good or not.
It looks good.
We'll see in a second here, because last time it took a little bit of a while to show me that it was messing up. But I think we're good. It's back. Thank you, Ram. He says, bang. Absolutely. We're absolutely printing on this Nvidia trade here. It's over $1 in the money here. So we're going to hit the for this. We waited patiently till we saw the ascending triangle manifest. Now we're looking for a real 498 break. Not this, couple of pennies business. We want a decided break of 498. It may have some sort of, the NQ may have some sort of bearing on on Nvidia here, but we are, we're still not at VWAP on the NQ. So I'm a little suspicious of this trade, hence why I've taken out about half the position here and much smaller size than earlier on. As I'm gonna tell you the truth, I'm unsure about this trade.
Yeah.
But we saw an ascending wedge, a 498 flat top breakout. So far, so good on this trade. All right, Magic Mike, what do you think about MNQ long here to the high of day? Do you use something convincing on level 2? Look, even when Arun was here, I'm almost certain he did not use level 2 all that much on the NQ. He's more of a chart trader. He was looking for price action on the futures. I don't know what Steph does. I don't know if Steph uses level 2. I can ask her. But my understanding is level 2 is not that important on the futures as it is on equities, and especially some of these smaller caps. But what do I think about an NQ long here? I'm suspicious of an NQ long here because we are south of VWAP. We are south of 16,000. We have put in a higher low, so I do like that. But it's a counter trend trade. Like, to be quite honest, like we're down 3/4 of a point on the NQ. Like, look at this, right? So we have a higher low. We have a general flat top, which we know is that VWAP area at around 15,987, 15,985, give or take. Is it late? Is it too late to get in if you wait till that area? I mean, this is not a futures trade that I would take. If you take it and you print on it, I couldn't be happier for you. What I would do, personally, is I would wait till we got to either VWAP or 16,000, one of those two levels, see how we trade around there, in the same way that I took my futures trade yesterday. It was the exact opposite of the one that's going on right now. We were above 16,000, and all the dips into 16,000 were all being bought up. And all the closing prints on the candles were north of 16,000. So I punched in at 16,000, and you know the rest is history. We moved up like 80, 90 points on that bad boy. Yeah. But that's a look there.
Also, Trader Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. Member for 20 months. Happy holiday to all. I'm going to Key West for margaritas and big grilled shrimp. Heart emoji, cool sunglass emoji. Thanks for everything. Thank you for the super chat. Enjoy your holiday, Trader Joe. Great name, by the way, and I am very jealous of the shrimp, I have to say. As a shrimp fan, that sounds amazing. Enjoy, very much enjoy. Yeah, currently, I think I'm trying to get this, just to explain this short, because I'm sure it seems a little insane. I'm trying to kind of scalp a Tesla short around VWAP. Right now, it's not coming to fruition, but we're not breaking above 241. So I'm chilling like a villain over here. Like a villain. Heck yes. Oh, there's a question here from Elon. OpenAI board members. Oh yeah, just about the OpenAI stuff in Microsoft. Yeah, how is Microsoft? Microsoft is, because Microsoft earlier, to bring it back to channels, had a channel earlier in Microsoft. We had a flat channel, and then we kind of broke above it, and then we broke a little bit below it, and now we're kind of back in that flat channel range. So it's kind of that example we had earlier with Walmart, right, where it kind of broke a little bit above and then continued to trade within the range. I would argue that Microsoft's still kind of near that flat channel range.
Oh yeah, are you talking about Microsoft? Yeah,
yes.
That 371 is a hell of a bottom there. But south of VWAP, you don't have any higher highs. The lows are consistent, which is that general 371 area. In case you're just joining us and haven't been watching the news, Microsoft has been very much in focus since last Friday, when it was announced that Sam Altman was being pushed out of his position as CEO of OpenAI. There was, essentially he was one of the faces of AI for a long time.
Yeah.
The composition of that company is a little bit dissimilar than others. It is a non-for-profit, meaning that the board of directors doesn't only have profit and the shareholders' interests in mind. They have larger societal goals, like, what's best for humanity, stuff like that. I don't know exactly what their prerogative is, but the point is, usually in a regular company, in a capitalist system, it's the shareholder, as the protection of the shareholder. Shareholder value is one of the main things that they focus on. In this case, it wasn't that. Therefore, there was some, friction between the two parties about what the best way to move forward was. That's my understanding. We're getting dribs, little bits of information here and there coming out of the company. Over the weekend, there was a concerted effort by a lot of the investors in OpenAI, chief among them, Microsoft, to have Sam put back at the helm of OpenAI. That was met with resistance by the board. Microsoft's Satya Nadella basically came out Sunday night or Monday or something like that and said, look, if Sam's not going to be at the helm there, well, then we're going to bring him in. He's going to be head of AI at Microsoft. Then later on, we found out there was a whole bunch of employees who had a great degree of loyalty to Sam. They wrote an open letter to the board saying that if Sam goes, we go. And there was 747 out of 770 employees who signed such letter. There was widespread speculation about whether Microsoft would hire 700 people. I would suggest to you that's a drop in the bucket to the 221,000 employees that they have all over the world. It would mean nothing to them, and it would essentially amount to a free acquisition. Imagine being able to poach the entire staff of a company free of charge. All you got to pay is the employee's salary and no capital on the actual acquisition itself. I think that's a hell of a deal. And so I think that, maybe the board thought this through. They were advised maybe by some other more knowledgeable people, and they've since basically re-engaged Sam Altman with respect to coming back. My understanding is his demand is that the board has to resign and there has to be major corporate governance structural changes for him to come back there. So we're going to have to wait to see how this unfolds. But Microsoft was obviously very much in focus because they are the biggest investor and they incorporate ChatGPT into Bing and all sorts of other different products. So that's the look there in case you were wondering what the hell is going on with Microsoft and why we're talking about it. That's basically a quick synopsis of that. Adira. Yeah, Fed minutes, flock of seagulls, 2 o'clock. That'll be on the closing show with Brendo and the Big Kahunas. It'll bring you that.
Yes. Also, RIP Tesla, we got our 10 cents and Tesla ran way lower, but it's okay because we didn't lose anything on this trade. Like I said, I feel my best when I am scalping, when we are in and out. Could we have gotten more? Sure. But did we lose anything? No. That's going to be a net positive. This was, we were kind of we had like two highs here, and it looked like Tesla almost kind of maybe wanted to do, a flat bot, the ascending triangle type thing. That did not really come to fruition. We had two touches and then flew to the downside, and I took 10 cents from that, so we'll take what we can get. Yeah, in terms of ascending channels as well, another example that was actually like live in the market was Zoom. So let's bring up Zoom. Zoom kind of broke, but yeah, as you can see here, we did have higher highs, higher lows, and then we had some movement within the ranges there. So I was attempting to kind of trade within this range, and then it quite clearly got away from me this short here. But yeah, it's because, with these trends, if you do have movement within the trend lines, you can kind of sometimes hop in and out of there, right, too, as long as you have kind of that defined trend. But yeah, here we had the ascending channel. I haven't seen really any descending channels today, but if anyone has any that they would like us to look at, let me know. And then, like I was saying earlier, too, that flat channel with Microsoft. So basically, it's just examples of indicators that are really, showing up in the market in real time.
Absolutely.
How's the Nvidia trade going?
It's great. We're $1.25 in the money, but we're still having a lot of trouble at $4.98. We're getting wicks above that and then a big push below. So VWAP and that $4.98 level presenting itself as an obvious resistance level over and over and over. I'm just wondering if we do get a decided break. We are moving up on the futures. We're coming back into that VWAP area. We're about 10 points away from VWAP on the future. Nvidia has been putting in steadily higher lows so far. No higher highs though, because that 498 level has been a key resistance level, and we're dancing at it right now. I've got a beak wetter at that $0.25. It hasn't filled because about a 5-penny spread now between the bid and the ask. We'll have to cross that $0.25 level for me to get filled, but it's a decent trade. I don't have anything more to add. We've talked about the lessons. You can take it off now, Ram, if you're able to, the topics there. Any other questions related, guys, to the subjects or the topics that we were talking about today? Please put them in now. We have about 10 minutes left on the show before the big kahunas take over. Recall that at 2 o'clock, we're going to be getting the Fed minutes. We'll be able to see kind of what their thinking was. Keep in mind, though, when you read this, this is a dated view that they had because things have changed. We've got that CPI print last week.
Yeah, that was wild.
The market, right?
Yeah.
And that the Fed minutes will be prior to that CPI print. So everything has to be viewed from within that context. It is a little bit laggy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting kind of seeing that in retrospect, especially given now with the CPI print having a lot of people changing their minds. And I have to say that is the first time I've been told, like people were saying to me that there were times earlier when the CPI prints would impact the market that much, but it was interesting seeing how quickly the NQ flew. Like from my perspective, just sitting here at the desk, this was my first experience. So same with the first major earnings trades, same with the first IPOs. It's cool kind of seeing for the first time how things move the market in real time. And I do have to say, it was wild to just watch the NQ shoot up. So that's the markets for you. And it'll be really interesting to kind of see in retrospect, especially given now what we've seen with these economic numbers really changing. Yeah,
absolutely. And the CPI, we've heard a lot made about the PCE being the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. The CPI, you have to think, factors into that, despite their wanting to focus on PCE. CPI has to factor in their decision making. We're about to get printed here. We're knocking on the door, and there it is, Adara, $1.15. That money now
Congratulations
on this Nvidia trade. Second trade today on NVDA. The first was a 5-banger. This is a 1.5-banger. We're going to take this one bad boy maybe to $500. We've got about 4 outs left on this bad boy. We're going to let it run. Maybe we'll wet our beak a little bit up here, Adara, at the $0.75 level. We'll put that there. If it gets filled, great. Lots of buybacks happening as well, says Trader Joe. Yeah, informally, obviously, there's a running gag on the floor here that if you're selling Apple, you're selling it to either Warren Buffett or to Apple itself because they have an aggressive share buyback program. So there's that look. Obviously, it's not the only company that's buying back shares at the moment. There's a lot of others who are trying to take advantage possibly of, what they perceive to be depressed levels before we skyrocket maybe when rate cuts come in next year, because that's what I anticipate is going to happen. When the rate cuts come in, whether in March or July, whenever the market's priced there, we're probably going to get a little bump.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that all unfolds. And yeah, like I said, it's interesting because all of these experiences are like the first time for me. So it's kind of like, I know not everything's going to react to everything the same way, but I think having that first experience is always really cool and kind of informative and eye-opening. So yeah, excited to see how the markets continue to react to things in the future. Absolutely. Also, I'm just going to quickly put up Tesla because I'm seeing some mentions of Tesla. And Tesla continues to struggle at VWAP. This is not the right chart. I apologize. Oh, another print. Congratulations, this is beautiful.
Yeah, it's going. Here we go. Nvidia's going again, and I think 500's incoming now. The descending wedge has been broken. Let's bring in the side chart here to talk a little bit about this wedge. It's not rocket science, guys.
Yeah.
We've been looking at this wedge since over here, okay? And this is what we had. We had a flat top because of VWAP. VWAP was a clear resistance point. You view it over here, and again over here, and then even a little bit over here, even though we didn't really touch it per se. We were definitely dancing around it, and now it's cleared that level. Let's see if we get continuation. I feel like the continuation really depend on whether the NQ can break and stay above 16,000. Otherwise, we may tank back down. Now, what I would say to you is maybe if you're following along on this trade, a break of this trend line would maybe be the right out. Now, typically I wouldn't say that. Typically I would say get in at the lower low. The lower low here takes you to around the 496 break or that 495.80-ish break. But in this case, if you want to lock in profits, maybe you move up your stop a little bit, your trailing stop a little bit more aggressively. And at the current price action, you get out around 497 there. About 5 minutes left on the show, guys. Let me look at some chat, some questions here. Charlie Taff, another great session. These past 2 weeks have been really educational. I've also gained 50% on my account in the same time frame, and I owe it to the stream. My man, when you print, we print. I'm very happy for you. I really am happy for you. I'm not just saying that. Like, I genuinely want to see the viewers do well. That's the only way you guys are going to return if you're doing well. If you guys are blowing up your accounts, you're likely to leave. So the better our viewers do, I think the better we do it here.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm happy people are printing. I hope people are learning as well. So I appreciate feedback. People mentioning stuff like that, because I've been learning too. I'm really grateful to everybody in the chat for being very patient, for helping me out with that. Sharif always as well too. Hopefully we're all learning and growing together and helping with the account. Also, there was a question earlier from Bilal. I mentioned the chat, but I'll answer it here too as well. Basically with regards to, do I find paper trading helpful? I do. I feel like, especially because I am still very new, it's nice to have these opportunities to just kind of try and make trades. And I'm very grateful to be able to have this experience where I can kind of, if I see, a movement or something, forming, I can just jump on it and I can kind of see what happens, right? I mean, to be clear, I still have risk parameters, I still have everything in mind, and I still feel the stress. But it's nice to kind of have this trading in real time with fake money, just kind of practicing the trading. So yeah, I mean, really, really cool question. Hopefully that's an interesting answer. Thank you to Phil McCracken for the $5 super chat. Thank you, guys/gals. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, very interesting times. Tesla's still jumping around VWAP. We took our 10 cents and we ran away.
Keep them a run, Chun. Keep them a run. I was doing that the other day, and he's like, Neil's like, you're singing Elephant, man. I've seen enough jam before. Anyway. All right, guys, we're knocking on the door of 499 here on NVDA, and we're about to break 499. So I'm going to hang out at the $99 level, 499. Oh, sorry, 498.99. If we get a break of that 499, that'd just be aces. The 200 period, by the way, on the 5-minute chart's at 500. So not only is 500 obviously a key area of resistance because it's $500 psychological resistance. It's that $10 level, the $100 level, the whole dollar level, whatever you want to call it. It also is confluencing. Is that a word?
I mean, we're going to say it is, yeah. Well, converging is, right? So convergent. So confluencing.
We make up words here, baby. Any words made up are more than welcome on this show. And there we go. we get that 499 break, we're going to hit the dollar club. Nvidia is absolutely pumping to the high side, guys. Here comes 500 bucks, I would say. We got one more out on this bad boy, but Nvidia has been an absolute rocket. Make sure to join the Katina Man on the market recap show at 4:20. Nvidia will have earnings, and I cannot wait to see what this bad boy is going to do, and I can't wait for Jensen to get on the call and to let us know, are people still buying hand over fist these GPUs, what his outlook on China is, how this embargo is going to affect his business. So many unanswered questions today on Nvidia. Make sure to join the Katina Man Market Recap Show, 4 o'clock a day.
Yeah, I think it'll be really exciting. I'm very excited to come back tomorrow with you all and trade those Nvidia earnings. Did not trade any Nvidia today, I don't think, but really fun one to trade. Very excited to get back into it with more chart pattern related things.
Yes,
that's what we're all about this
absolutely.
week. And I appreciate everybody for learning with us. And we're excited to return.
Oh, absolutely. Tomorrow we will be talking about more chart patterns. We'll tell you what those are tomorrow. Still lots to talk about, guys. Heads and shoulders, bull flags,
Knees and toes.
And it's in for knees and toes. Thank you, Adara.
I couldn't help.
Yeah, you have to do it. That's fine. Lots to talk about. Look at Nvidia go. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Another day of crazy Nvidia price action, guys. 1 minute left on the show before we get the Fed minutes and the big kahunas take over. We're going to send you to Brendo super quick, but I would say keep your eye on that $500 level. It could be an interesting area to short. You may not want to stand in front of this freight train, but I'm just telling you, $500, psychological resistance, the whole dollar level, the $100 level. You guys get it, right? So great couple of days, Adara, on the show today. And there it is, breaks. We're done our Nvidia trade. Officially,
Congrats.
It's all over on that one. And we're going to send you up to Brendo. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, cannot wait to see you all tomorrow with more chart patterns. Same bat time, same bat channel. Brendan's at the big desk with the FOMC minutes.
Hey guys, just getting the minutes here from the latest Fed meeting. Not much of a reaction from the overall market. A little bit of a downtick overall. It looks like basically the decision was